Rebirth in India as a Brahmin. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251, Getting Angry. In fact, Shakru was already in a very bad mood when he heard this, but he could barely bear it, because with China's level of development and world status at that time, truly outstanding foreign teachers would not come to China at all. Because the talent flow and distribution system in capitalist countries such as the United States is like this. First-rate talents go into business, second-rate talents go into education and research, and third-rate talents go into government officials. Although it is biased to say this, it is generally this way. So in the United States, teachers have a very high status and their selection is very strict. But this is not the case in China. Basically, only 4th and 5th rate talents go to normal schools, but they still have to expect these people to teach first-rate talents. Well, this is not an ordinary difficulty point, therefore, their truly excellent teachers are doing very well in their own country, and there is no need to come all the way to China, which they regard as remote and backward. Therefore, although Chinese schools also know that the people who come here are a bunch of guys with low standards, I can only hold my nose and admit it. After all, it is difficult to find professional and excellent foreign language teachers, especially teachers of minor languages. Although the quality of these guys is not very good, at least they still have no problem with language. After all, they have 30 years of practical experience. Secondly, having foreign teachers in the school can make the school appear to be of a higher standard, so some schools with low reputations will accept foreigners regardless of their quality, thus giving foreigners the wrong impression that China is easy to get mixed up with. Impression point: if the previous remarks were still within the category that Shakru could barely tolerate, then what these guys said next made Shakru almost furious. I just heard a Japanese say, "What you said is not important. In fact, I can also find a job in Japan, and the income is not lower than here. The reason why I chose to come to China is because I can enjoy superior treatment here." Right? You heard it right. It is superior treatment. Have you ever heard of it? We Japanese lost our bicycles in Wuhan, right? When we Japanese lost a bicycle, the Chinese government mobilized all the police in the city to help us find it, but when they lost their own belongings, no one took care of it at all. Can we enjoy this kind of treatment in Japan? So why don't I come? Another Canadian echoed. Yes, we enjoy privileges in China. Last time I drank too much in a bar and beat up a Chinese guy who I didn't like. As a result, I got to the Public Security Bureau. What happened to me? No, the police sent me out politely, but the Chinese guy I beat was locked up. Although this is a bit unfair, it feels so *refreshing. These words made everyone present laugh, but a guy from France retorted, "I'm not talking about you. Why are you going to the bar to fight? If it were me, I wouldn't be able to pick up beautiful women. Where do I have time to do other things?" Speaking of which, China is the easiest country to pick up beautiful women among all the countries I have been to. As long as you have a foreign face and can tell a few dirty jokes, those girls will take the initiative to embrace you without even spending the money to buy a house. At this point, those white people look down on black people. The energy came out again, and he pointed at a black man and mocked, "I guess his black face won't work. Chinese girls only like white people." Unexpectedly, the guy from South Africa retorted, "Who said black people can't pick up Chinese girls? I've only been in China for less than a year, and I've already had 3 girlfriends, not counting the girls I met in bars. I slept for one night. But speaking of it, Chinese girls are nice everywhere, and they can cook and wash clothes for me, but they just won't bite me." This word needs to be read separately, although all the people present at this time were foreigners, which is why these guys dared to talk so brazenly. They didn't know that there was actually a Chinese here. Although his appearance, his nationality, and his identity had all changed, it has nothing to do with China, but in his heart he feels that he is still a Chinese. So after hearing these remarks that slandered the Chinese, he could no longer hold back his anger and directly put his hands in his hands. He smashed his cup on the ground and shouted, "Shut up, everyone. I think there is a Chinese saying that is very good. A mouth that eats people is short, and a hand that takes people is short. Since you are making money here as a Chinese, if you want money and enjoy the treatment provided by the Chinese, you'd better respect your parents, especially girls. Don't you think your behavior is too ungentlemanly and dirty? After that, turn around and leave." Shakru's outburst made these guys look at each other in confusion. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that they were accompanying guests today, Shakru and the old Bergkamp from the Netherlands were the protagonists. Moreover, the identity and status of Shakru, an Indian, is much higher than them. He is a veritable billionaire boss, so even if they were scolded, they did not dare to say anything. It was not until Shakru walked away that someone murmured, "We are talking about Chinese people, not Indians. Why is he so excited?" Yes, and it seems that he is clean. As far as I know, he also has a woman in his room who was given to him by the Chinese government. You said that this person is different from other people. We want a woman. To return you have to go and soak it yourself. Someone will give it to you directly. Someone nearby agreed. As a friend of Shakru, old Bergkamp naturally couldn't stay any longer when he saw him so angry, so he chased after Shakru and said, "Little Shakru, the quality of these guys is too good. If it's low, you can't do anything wrong. If you get angry with them, maybe it was because he left the special environment just now, or maybe it was because a cold wind after coming out made Shakru calm down a lot." So he sighed and said, "Hey, actually I also know that I shouldn't say those words just now. After all, this matter has nothing to do with me, but I just couldn't help it. By the way, old Ice Prince, can you do me a favor?" "What's the point of asking whether to help or not between us? Just tell me what you want me to do." Old Bergkamp answered very happily. Shakru pondered for a while and then said, "Can you help me invite a few real foreign language teachers in Europe? The level does not need to be high, but the character must be guaranteed. I'll take the difference. P.S. I don't know if this chapter will touch the fragile glass hearts of some people." Chapter 252 BP Machine. Old Bergkamp thought about it for a while and then replied with some embarrassment, "Zio Shaklu, I understand what you mean. This is not a difficult task, but I can only help you find European language teachers. But like Japan, there's nothing I can do about it as a teacher, because I'm really not familiar with Japan." Shakru waved his hand and said, "You don't have to worry about Japanese teachers. I'm very familiar with Japan. After all, I still have a distribution company in Japan." "Oh, that's good. But there is another question. Even if we find suitable teachers, what should we do with these people? We are not the principal of the school, so there is no reason to expel them." Old Bergkamp continued to ask, "I'll talk to Mayor Kin about this. I guess he won't refuse this kind offer. Maybe this troublesome matter has been solved, so Shakru's mood is better. He even thinks that the pop songs played in the stores on both sides of the street are very good." After listening carefully, the song playing now is actually an old song he is very familiar with, sung by Tang Ning and Fei Wang. Speaking of which, this song is quite a classic. It seems to have been performed at the Spring Festival Gala. But for some reason, when Shakru heard this song, his first reaction was actually the movie Charlotte from Happy Twist. There is a scene where Shen Teng sings this song. When I watched this movie, I also thought about what I would do if I was reborn in high school one day. Would I become a copycat like Charlotte, become famous, get rich, marry Bayfumi, and start life, peak? But when I really traveled back in time, I found that none of the plans I had made back then were used, because I was actually wearing an Indian body, so those Chinese style things were not used at all, and it was 1990. China, it's not developed yet, so even if you tinker with these things, you won't be able to make much money. But think about it again. Since you are not reborn, but have traveled through time and space into another person, does that mean you still exist in this time and space? It is now 1997, and I seem to be about to enter high school. Do you want to go to your hometown to see if you are still there in your previous life? Do you want to find an excuse to give your younger self and parents a huge sum of money to make their lives easier? Although this idea was very tempting, After careful consideration, Shakru decided to give up, because no one can say for sure about time travel and rebirth. There is a possibility that Tang Ning will never be seen again in this world. It's possible that one of the two people will disappear after meeting, so it's better not to add to this trouble. The next day, the matter of introducing foreign teachers was unexpectedly approved by Merkin, but then Liu-zhan made a suggestion to Shakru that made him laugh or cry. Leo, I have a project that is currently gaining momentum and will definitely make money. Are you interested? Liu-zhan asked with a mysterious face. Oh, what project? Shakru asked casually without taking it seriously. Liu-zhan said word by word. Invest in production machines. What? Is this a machine? Shakru asked with a shocked look on his face. Liu-zhan thought that Shakru didn't know what a phone was, so he explained. This phone is actually a wireless pager, but we call it a phone here, and there are also pagers or pagers. I know that for big bosses like you, the thing is useless, not as convenient as a mobile phone at all. Know how many people in China can afford to use mobile phones now? Mobile phones are still the most practical and convenient. So if you open a mobile phone factory now, it will definitely make money. However, there are almost no mobile phones that can't produce that kind of numbers. If people want to use it, they have to produce the kind of Chinese display that has Chinese characters. How could Shakru, an authentic post-80s generation, not know about such sentimental things? In China in the 1990s, mobile phones were not yet common. Having a mobile phone was actually a cluster phone with a single function, and it was a status symbol. For most Chinese people, the mobile phone is a communication tool that is more in line with public needs. Maybe friends born in the 1990s have never seen this thing, but at that time, especially when the Han display computer just appeared, it was the same concept as the current Apple 6 to Heo Gold. If there is such a thing, everyone can't wait to hold it in their hands. To show off, of course I wouldn't buy it when I was at home, but there is an electronic watch that looks like a Chinese display machine. You can take it out and install it. Some people will use this thing when you are in high school, but we usually take it with us when we skip class. If the teacher calls on us, the students who stay in the class can call us and run back in time. Shakru can understand Liu-zhan's good intentions in proposing to build a machine factory, but he will never accept this suggestion because this thing can almost be said to be the fastest product to be eliminated in Shakru's previous life. At its peak, almost everyone had it. But within a few years of its popularity, his position was completely replaced by mobile phones, and even the base station was demolished. There was once a joke about the rapid obsolescence of airplanes. It was said that a robber was finally released after serving 20 years in prison. So he found his former younger brother and took him to the place where he had buried his stolen goods. It was very emotional. Said, "Brother, I remember when I was in the Public Security Bureau. Despite being tortured and tempted by reduced sentences, we did not reveal the hiding place of these treasures. Now we can finally dig them out. As long as these things are sold, we can make a fortune." As a result, when the treasures are dug out, the little brother was so excited that he discovered that there were hundreds of machines buried there. Although Shakru was very sure that the development of the machine would not be very good, he could not tell Liu-zhan about this, so he had to find another excuse. "Well, Liu, you also know that my main business is medicine and finance. I know nothing about electronic products. The risk of rashly changing careers is too great, so let's forget about it." Liu-zhan still did not give up and persuaded. "I heard that this technology is very simple, and I have an uncle who does this in Shenzhen. When the time comes, we can learn the technology from him, right? Well, let's talk about it after the new pharmaceutical factory is on the right track. Now there is really no time." Shakru said helplessly. Originally, Liu-zhan planned to persuade Shakru after he was busy with the things on hand, but a sudden natural disaster disrupted all his plans. To be continued. Chapter 253 Donations. On this day, Merkin had just arrived at the office when Secretary Zhao Liang came forward and reported, "Mayor Yang Cheng, the Deputy Director of the Investment Promotion Office, seems to have something urgent to come to see you. He has been waiting outside for a long time, Mayor." King frowned and said, how can I have time to see him now? I wonder if the top priority now is flood control? Investment promotion must be put later, Mayor. Kin said this because this time Heilongjiang province, especially Harbin city, suffered the most terrifying flood since the founding of the People's Republic of China. A total of 29 provinces, municipalities and autonomous regions were affected by this flood, with the affected area reaching 318 million acres and the affected population reaching 223 billion people. The direct economic losses are as high as 166.6 billion yuan, and the indirect economic losses are incalculable. The Northeast, especially the Black Province, has always been a place with relatively few natural disasters. Whether earthquakes, floods, mudslides, or tornadoes, the number of occurrences in the Northeast is very small. However, the floods in 1998 were also the hardest hit area, especially in Shakru. Harbin City, where the city is located, is one of the 4 areas hardest hit by the disaster. The floods once rushed to the flood control memorial tower on the riverside. Therefore, for all the leaders of the provincial government and the municipal government, flood prevention and disaster relief are now the most important tasks at hand. Even investment promotion, which used to be of great importance, now has to be ranked at the back. That's why Merkin has so one thing to say, but Yang Cheng said that what he came to talk about today was related to flood fighting and disaster relief. Secretary Zhao Liang said. Upon hearing this, Merkin nodded and replied, oh, that's it, then let him in. Within a few minutes, Yang Cheng walked in. Merkin had no time to be polite to him and asked directly, Yang Cheng, I heard that you have something to report to me related to flood fighting and disaster relief. Yang Cheng nodded quickly and replied, Merkin, it's like this. Mr. Pandit from Heng Medicine told me that he would donate money to the victims of floods in our province. Oh, donating money, that's a good thing, but you can just take him to the Civil Affairs Bureau to handle this kind of thing. Merkin replied casually, then thought about it, and said again, by the way, do it for me. I would like to express my gratitude to him, but the task of fighting floods is too heavy recently, so I don't have time to visit him for the time being. Merkin originally thought that this would be enough. Unexpectedly, Yang Cheng continued, Merkin, what Mr. Pandit wants to donate is not just a small amount. What he wants to donate is a full 1 million yuan. How much did you say? 1 million? Merkin asked in shock. Yang Cheng nodded and said, yes, it is 1 million yuan, and it is 1 million US dollars. 1 million US dollars, isn't that equivalent to 8 million yuan? It didn't become 6.8 until 2010. In fact, it's no wonder that Merkin was shocked, because at that time, although there were many people donating money and materials, most people the amount of donations was not large. First, because China's overall economy was not very high at that time, especially in the period of state-owned enterprise reform, so there are very few large and wealthy companies, and even fewer in the Northeast. Secondly, large overseas donations are generally donated to Jiangxi, Hunan, Hubei, Zhejiang and other places. After all, my hometown is overseas. There are more Chinese people, and the disaster here is indeed more serious than in the Northeast. I checked and found that even during the 2008 Wenchuan earthquake, there were no more than 10 celebrities who donated more than 1 million yuan, so the protagonist's donation of 1 million US dollars at this time is definitely not too small. Therefore, when Merkin heard that Pandit planned to donate 1 million US dollars, he was not only happy about the 8 million yuan. After all, for the finance of a province, this amount of money is not a big sum. Considering the political significance, this is a foreign businessman that he has just attracted. He has just come to Harbin to invest, and he is willing to spend a lot of money to donate. What does this mean? This definitely shows the ability and charm of the municipal government, especially Merkin, in attracting investment. This kind of thing is definitely worth writing about. However, for the sake of safety, Merkin still asked, well, Yang Cheng, based on your understanding of this Pandit, he didn't just say this casually, right, Merkin? Don't worry, I have known this Shakru Pandit for several years. He is a standard tycoon. Although I don't know how much property he has, it is estimated to be tens of millions of dollars. It is definitely indispensable, so this $1 million is a big number in our opinion, but for it's really nothing to him. I remember that, when India was hit by the earthquake and plague, he donated a lot of money and donated medicine. And when he told me about it yesterday, he said he had even prepared a transfer check. All we have to do is fill in our donation account. Yang Cheng quickly defended Shakru. Mekin nodded and said, well, that's good. Let's do this. You go back and tell Mr. Pandit, don't be anxious yet. I'll find a TV station here and prepare a grand donation ceremony for him. I will invite him then. Secretary Zhu came to personally host the donation ceremony. Thank you so much, Merkin. I'm going to tell Mr. Pandit the good news and let him prepare well. Yang Cheng said very excitedly. Although Yang Cheng was very excited, Shaklu's reaction after hearing the news was very dull, because he had no other intention of donating the money. He simply wanted to contribute to the place where he had studied and worked, and he was able to give out $1 million during the earthquake in India. How could he be reluctant to part with this small amount of money if something happened in his hometown? If he were not worried that taking too much money would arouse the suspicion of the Chinese government and give him, if it brings some unnecessary trouble, he really wants to get a few more million in his previous life. Shakru also encountered this unprecedented flood, but at that time he was still young and a junior high school student, and his hometown was not seriously affected, so this natural disaster did not leave a deep impression on him. But this time he was building a new factory in Harbin, and he felt the power of this natural disaster first. And PS. First of all, I apologize to everyone. Chapter 256 is locked. I'm sorry for causing reading difficulties for everyone. Then I sigh that it is really not easy to write something now. I will hit a thunder if I'm not careful. It really makes me depressed. I didn't write XX***, and it's not my fabrication. Is this the fact that has always existed? Is it interesting to always cover up the truth? So I will simply write something positive today. This flood relief and enthusiastic donation is positive enough, right? Is the worldview positive enough? If this is blocked again, I will not write it anymore. Chapter 254. Delivering meals. Gang Pharmaceutical Company is a leading company in the international healthcare products industry. Under the strong communication and enthusiastic inspiration of the Provincial Party Committee and the Provincial Government, the Municipal Party Committee and the Municipal Government, Mr. Pandit, the president of the company, decided not only to invest in Langjiang and develop together, but also to when our province was facing a severe flood that had never happened in a century. Mr. Pandit generously donated a huge amount of RMB 8 million to help the people of our province tide over the difficulties. This behavior of Mr. Pandit is an example of attracting investment to our city, a great achievement of the work. Also, although the host spoke impassionately and passionately, Shakru almost fell asleep. No matter in his previous life or in this life, what he couldn't stand the most was this form of officialdom. However, people always meant well and could be considered to build momentum for himself. He could only endure it. Finally, the previous scenes were almost completed. Shakru held a giant check model and warmly shook hands with Zhu XX from Heilongjiang province, handed over the check, and took a group photo. Secretary Zhu is also very happy about the amount of Shakru's donation, because according to statistics, this is the largest donation by a single person from an international person, not counting overseas Chinese like Li Kashing and Fokang Tung. Let me talk about it here. During the 1998 floods, the largest donation was from Hong Kong, which was nearly 700 million. Surprisingly, Thailand donated more than 30 million to us, while the United States only donated 7.5 million, and India only 250,000, which was still RMB. I'm so embarrassed to be able to use it. In addition, Shakru also clearly wrote in the donation letter that he must report the details of the $1 million to himself, and he has the right to conduct random checks on the specific use of the money. If any fraud is discovered, if the donation is spent on matters unrelated to flood relief, you have the right to complain and defend your rights to the city government. The reason why Shakru had to add this was because he was really frightened by things like the **** incident in his previous life. He didn't want his hard-earned money to end up being wasted, become someone else's misery. Naturally, the city government fully agreed to his request and gave him the off-staff title of Municipal Supervision Ambassador. Although Shakru was not interested in such formalistic things as the donation ceremony, he had to admit afterward that the ceremony was still very effective. At least now the people in Harbin knew that this Indian was enthusiastic, generous, and donated everything. That's 8 million, which is different from the black-hearted capitalists in everyone's mind. Especially Comrade Zio Minimum, who has resigned from the Municipal Party Committee Hotel and officially joined the Secretariat of Gang's second branch factory. After returning from his hometown, he was very excited and jumped into Shakru's arms and said to him, "Boss, do you know? You are famous now." Shakru casually pinched the plumpness of her chest and then asked casually, "Oh, are you famous? Why are you famous?" Not only did Zio Minimum not avoid Shakru's kneading, but she adjusted her body position to make it easier for his big hands, and then replied, "Because of your donation this time, even the people in my hometown know about it." A big boss came from India. He was not only a rich man, but also a great philanthropist. When he saw the disaster here, he donated tens of millions of dollars. He is truly worthy of coming from the West. It seems that in your Chinese language, going to the West is not a good word, right? Shakru said, dumbfounded. Zio Minimum argued, in Journey to the West, Tang monk Sun Wukong and his companions went to the West to learn Buddhist scriptures. Didn't they go to India? So it's not wrong to say that you came from the West, Shakru explained helplessly. Yes, our India is indeed the birthplace of Buddhism. Historically, Xuanzang's journey to the West was indeed India, but I'm not a Buddhist, but a Hindu. Forget it. Let's talk about something else. Your parents heard that you resigned from the Municipal Party Committee Hotel and went to work in a company. Didn't they object? Originally, I had some objections. In their opinion, a well-established iron rice bowl is the most secure, but after seeing my monthly salary and your courage to spend tens of millions this time, they all agreed. They felt that donating, if you can donate 10 million, then your family must be rich enough, so I won't be able to get away with it for a while. Zio Minimum explained slowly, and then lowered his head shyly and said, but they specifically told me that they can go to India. I work in someone else's company, but I can't find an Indian son-in-law. What's wrong with the Indian son-in-law? Isn't there a kind man like me in India? Shakru said with some displeasure. Zio Minimum saw that Shakru's face was a little gloomy and quickly explained, oh, you have to give them some time to accept it. Okay, don't be so sullen. Let me ask you, how many days have I been gone? Did you miss me? I miss you. How can I not miss you? Especially your long legs. Come on, female donor. Can I take you to the West now? Holy monk, don't want it. I'm the dividing line between the inner story and the main text. If we want to rank the most hard-working and greatest people in this flood fight and disaster relief, then the soldiers of the People's Liberation Army definitely deserve the honor. These soldiers almost live and eat near the dam in order to fight the flood. While the flood is constantly eroding the dam, the night battles infect these soldiers' warrior skin. The dirty flood water soaked the body for a long time. The resting place was by the river. The sleeping environment was very humid. Coupled with the lack of rest and the friction of clothes, almost all the soldiers suffered from various skin ulcers on their feet, legs, and shoulders. There were wounds on his head and neck. When the nearby residents saw how hard they worked, they were grateful and often came to deliver food and water to them. However, the manner in which this group came to deliver food today was completely different. I saw an insulated car driving slowly outside the flood control dam, and there was a sign of the Swan Hotel on it. The soldier on duty outside stopped the car and said, "This is a dam inside, and unrelated vehicles are not allowed to enter." The driver and staff in the car came down and explained, "Hello, comrades of the People's Liberation Army, it's like this. We are from the Swan Hotel, and a guest felt that our People's Liberation Army soldiers fighting floods and rescue operations here every day are too hard and busy all day long. You can't even eat well, so you ordered 1,000 box lunches from us and asked us to deliver them. You see, in order to ensure that the meals are still hot, we specially asked us to transport them in an insulated truck." Chapter 255 Hard Food. After hearing this explanation, not to mention the little soldiers on duty, even the people watching the excitement were stunned. You must know that the Swan Hotel is not an ordinary hotel in Harbin. This hotel was established in 1983. It was definitely the highest end hotel with the longest history in the hearts of the people of Harbin at that time. It had hosted countless national leaders and foreign affairs events. However, as befitting its name, the prices there were also extremely high, so ordinary people had no chance at all. Been in there. Now when they heard that someone actually ordered 1,000 box lunches in Swan to give to the People's Liberation Army soldiers on the front line of flood fighting and rescue operations, everyone couldn't help but be shocked. Let me go. Who is this rich man? This is too big a deal. How much does it cost to order 1,000 box lunches from Swan? Even if a meal costs 10 yuan, then it's still 10,000 yuan. Passerby said in shock. As soon as he finished speaking, someone immediately laughed and said, "What are you talking about? You really dare to think about it for 10 yuan? Please, that's a Swan, not your small roadside restaurant. Who will cook it for you for 10 yuan? Exclamation mark. And didn't you see, this is delivered by an insulated truck. Does it cost such a big deal? Who said a portion costs 10 yuan? Can you understand me? What I mean is that even if a portion costs 10 yuan, it costs 10,000 yuan. Passerby defended, and then changed the topic to the staff of Swan Hotel asked, "Hey, who ordered these meals?" However, they ignored him at all, and continued to persuade the soldiers on duty, "Comrade, you see, we are here to deliver food, so just let us in." The little soldier thought for a moment, and then said, "Let's do this. You tell me which caring person sent it, so that I can go in and report to the leader." "Hey, okay. These meals are sent to the soldiers by Pandit, the boss of Heng Medical. Please go in and say something, otherwise the food will be cold and not taste good after a while." From the Swan Hotel, the staff member quickly replied. At this moment, the people around suddenly realized and said, "It turns out to be the big boss who donated 10 million, so no wonder he is so rich." It must be said that he has a good heart. He not only gives money, but also meals are delivered, and it's a high-end hotel like the Swan Hotel. When the head of the group responsible for dam defense heard about this, he rushed over immediately, shook the hand of the deputy manager of the Swan Hotel and said gratefully, Thank you for your support to the soldiers. Thank Pan from Heng Medicine for me. Thank you Mr. Dieter." While responding to the greeting, the deputy manager thought in a somewhat embarrassed tone, "No, I have to discuss it with the boss when I get back. This meal doesn't cost much, so we can't let foreigners do all this kind of free stuff. Let's do it ourselves next time." When everyone brought the food down, the onlookers exclaimed again, "Oh, it really deserves to be a Swan lunchbox. This grade is too high. This dish is really hard." In northeastern dialect, it is also called hard dish. It refers to dishes with a lot of fish and meat. I won't make up the specific content of the dishes. I haven't eaten box lunches from star-rated restaurants, so I won't make the mistake of the Emperor's Golden Pole. As the response to Shaklu's meal delivery event was very good. Not only the officers and soldiers were very satisfied with the meal, but the onlookers also gradually deepened their impression of Heng Medicine. Therefore, many companies saw the huge publicity effect and starting from the next day, there are many restaurants, hotels, and businesses. They all began to deliver meals to the flood fighting officers and soldiers, so that when it was time to eat, the side of the dam was crowded with various food delivery teams, making the officers and soldiers not sure who to eat. The instigator, Shakru, seeing this situation, I withdrew from the food delivery team and stopped competing with them for the fun. I'm not making this up. After the victory in the flood fight, I don't know which unit took the lead. Anyway, many units and companies were competing to entertain the officers and soldiers fighting the flood. According to a cousin of mine, at that time, they couldn't eat anymore. After all, no one can stand eating greasy food without vegetables for more than 20 days in a row. But on the surface, you have to pretend that you love eating. After all, do people mean well? Then they secretly go out and vomit it up. Many people even constipated. Although Shaklu no longer delivers meals, he issued another more tempting call. That is, all officers and soldiers who participated in flood fighting and rescue operations can directly go to their permanent residence with the flood fighting certificate issued by the army after retirement. He Medical University offers admission without examination as a safeguard, but the number is limited, with only 10 places. Although there are not many places, it has caused a great response, because everyone knows that this Indian boss is not short of money, and it can be seen from the current recruitment advertisements that Gang's salary is quite high, almost as high as currently the salary in Harbin City is twice that of ordinary people. So countless people are trying to get in. Now there is an opportunity to be hired without examination. How can everyone not be excited? The only regret is that the number of places is a bit small, but everyone can understand it. After all, it is a pharmaceutical factory, not a security company. It does not need so many security guards. 10 places is already good point. After arranging these things, Shakru already wanted to return to New Delhi. After all, he had been away for a long time. However, just when he asked the front desk to buy him a ticket, Merkin's secretary Zhao Liang came over and found him. "Mr. Pandit, I heard that you are going back to China." Shakru nodded and said, "Yes, I have been out for a long time this time. It's time to go back to the main factory and take a look." Zhao Liang hesitated for a moment, then said, "Mr. Pandit, can you stay a few more days? Is there something Merkin wants to talk to me about?" Shakru asked curiously. Zhao Liang shook his head and said, "It's not Merkin who wants to talk to you, but a big leader may come to Harbin in a few days. He may meet you at that time. After all, you are the representative of international caring people." "Oh, which big leader?" Shakru asked. Zhao Liang looked around, then said mysteriously, "It's either the number 1 leader or the number 2 leader, from Beijing." Shakru asked uncertainly. Zhao Liang nodded and said, "Of course, otherwise how can he be called the number 1 leader? In that case, I will wait. I will wait for as many days as I want." Shakru said hurriedly. PS. Yang Cheng in chapter 258 is wrong. It should be Liu Zun. Thank you for your reminder. I will correct it now. Chapter 256. Don't falsify accounts. In fact, it's no wonder that Shakru has changed so quickly, because the number 1 leader in any country is not so easy to see, especially in China, where it is even more difficult. So Shakru asked excitedly, "Secretary Liang, when will the chief arrive, so I can prepare in advance?" "Mr. Pandit, you are asking this. Don't tell me that I don't know the specific date and time. Even if I know it, I can't tell anyone about it. This is a state secret." Secretary Liang replied with some annoyance. Shakru knocked on his forehead several times and said, yes, look at my brain. I can't react at once. Then I will wait for your good news at any time." After Secretary Liang left, Shakru began to prepare for the interview. The seriousness of the preparations made Pivapalava a little puzzled. "Boss, your preparations are too detailed. There is no need for this." Shakru replied disdainfully, "What do you know? Let me tell you that in ancient China, this leader was the emperor. He had to be summoned by the emperor. As a minister from a foreign country, he had to be well prepared. Let me tell you. In order to show his closeness to the people, China's number 1 leader once went to a steamed bun shop to eat steamed buns, and guess what? Well, what can that mean? It means their buns are delicious." Pivapalava said with some confusion. Shakru waved his hand and said, "You are wrong. At this time, it is no longer important whether the buns in this bun shop are delicious or not. What is important is that the number 1 leader has eaten here before, so the grade and status of this shop, then it's here. Let me tell you, this stall later listed the dishes ordered by Chief Number 1. When I came out, I named it Shaozang set meal, and it became very popular immediately. People who came to order this set meal had to queue up in a long line every day. And the most interesting thing is that, as soon as the chief minister left after eating, the owner of the steamed stuffed bun shop said, 'Shaozang just now. The used tables and chairs have been moved to the storage room and are said to be treasured.' It's such an exaggeration, boss. If this chief is willing to endorse our will gang, wouldn't our sales in China be in short supply?" Bivapalava said whimsically. But this sentence frightened Shakru so much that he quickly covered Bivapalava's mouth, looked around, and then whispered, "Please, this is China. Don't mess around. Talk, it will kill someone." As for that, we asked him to do advertising. It's not like he's doing anything bad. Bivapalava said nonchalantly, "Ah, you kidding? Have you ever heard of a leader of any country advertising products?" Shakru said angrily. Bivapalava defended, "Why not? Back then, Nixon helped Pepsi Cola advertise in the Soviet Union. Wasn't he the president?" Shakru was speechless when asked this question, because this incident did happen, but at that time Nixon was still the vice president, and it is estimated that only the Soviets remember this incident, and people in other countries generally can't remember. In 1959, in order to enter the Soviet market, the boss of Pepsi Cola used his personal relationship with Nixon to let Khrushchev take the initiative to drink a cup when he opened the American National Exhibition in Sokolniki Park in Moscow. Pepsi Cola opened the market in the Soviet Union. This meeting is also known as the Kitchen Debate. On September 1st, Chief Number 2 finally arrived in Harbin. Shakru has great respect for this chief because he studied finance and worked in finance in his previous life, so he knows this leader very well, who has been the dean of the School of Economics and Management and has a unique understanding of the Chinese economy. In particular, his inscriptions at China's 3 national accounting schools, although there are only 4 words, are definitely worthy of all financial staff warning themselves at all times. That is, do not make false accounts. You must know that he has made 3 rules for himself since he took office, one of which is never write anything, and the only exception is in the accounting school. These 4 words are easy to say, but if you really want to do it, haha, I believe every colleague knows it. However, the chief came and went in a hurry and did not give Shaklu a chance to meet him. This made Shaklu a little disappointed, but fortunately, the chief came to Harbin on September 5th. This time Shaklu was definitely notified of the interview. There must be an inspection before meeting the chief, but to Shakru's surprise, the chief's security guard said directly to him, "Mr. Pandit, your 2 bodyguards should not follow you. We are the boss's assistants, not bodyguards." Bivapalava argued. The head of the security guard said with a smile, "No matter what the position is, we don't dare to offend the elites who came from Skarlvo Red Flag Special School, so I ask you to cooperate with me." This time even Shakru was a little surprised. "Do you even know their origins?" Being in charge of the security work of the chief, naturally I have to know a lot about all aspects, not to mention these 2 beauties are our colleagues. If I don't even know the cradle of beautiful agents, Scorpio, then I would be derelict in my duty. The person in charge replied with a smile. After this episode, Shakru finally walked into the reception room and met the number 1 leader. Although the entire meeting lasted less than 5 minutes, and the secretary of the leader only asked 3 questions in advance, generally before the big leader meets, his secretary group will send someone to communicate with you about the content of the day's conversation. One is to save time, and the other is to prevent you from giving inappropriate answers and remarks. Generally, several questions will be rehearsed, and the leader will randomly select questions from these questions to ask you. Of course, there will also be temporary questions, which means that the leader has a good impression of you and wants to talk to you more. Anyway, this is a process. When I met the mayor, I have never met a big leader, but he asked 2 extra questions, which made Shakru very excited. After meeting the leader, Shakru felt that this trip to China was a success. When he was instructing his men to enlarge and frame the photo of him and the leader and prepare it as a treasure of the factory, he suddenly heard the bad news of Luhan from Changchun. P.S. Regarding the number 2 leader, I actually have a lot of praise for him, but unfortunately I dare not write it down. If any friends have sufficient understanding of China's domestic and international situation and specific conditions at that time, they should understand how difficult it was for him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257. Boss, I'm sorry, I may not be able to deliver the batch of orders on time, Luhan said anxiously on the phone. Upon hearing what Luhan said, Shakru suddenly became anxious. What's going on? Why can't I deliver the goods? Isn't there a flood in the south now? Many roads and railways have been stopped, so the raw materials cannot be transported, Luhan explained. No way. I see that the traffic between the north and the south is not cut off now. The time for the next batch of goods is not urgent. Just let the raw materials be transported slowly. We are not short of 2 days. Shakru was a little unhappy. He said with satisfaction, traffic has not been cut off, but now the transportation department's primary task is to transport disaster relief supplies, and our supplies can't be queued at all. Luhan replied, very depressed. Point now, not only Luhan is depressed, but also Shakru is depressed, because Luhan is right. In the current state of China, no matter what level of government, the highest priority task is to fight floods and provide disaster relief, especially its own raw materials. They all come from the areas hardest hit by the floods, and transportation capacity must be very tight. It is simply unrealistic to compete with them for carriages at this time, but my own raw material requirements are too much, and the cost of air transportation is too high. In the same way, the cost of shipping from India is too high, while shipping from Russia is not high. However, there are also floods in the Black Province, and the raw materials are still not available. Shakru thought about it for a long time, and finally decided to hand over this batch of goods to the Indian factory for production. Fortunately, the construction here in Harbin has not been completed, so the main factory has not stopped production. Otherwise, he would be in trouble now. At this time, he couldn't help but feel I was depressed for a while. I invested and built factories in China, but why did I lose my place in China? Fortunately, in my memory, the Northeast had only suffered this disaster. In the future, when something goes wrong in the South, it would be a big deal for me. Russia shipped raw materials for this reason. Shakru told Luhan, please stop there for a while and let everyone take a rest after the production of this batch of goods. After the flood has passed, and the raw materials have stabilized, I will send you a new order. In the eyes of Luhan and Shakru, this was a very normal decision, but among the lower level employees of the number 1 branch factory, this announcement caused an uproar, and all kinds of rumors started. Brother Zhang, do you think our factory is going to be corrupt? When they got off work in the evening, 2 workers gathered together to discuss the new announcement issued by the factory today. One person asked the other first. The man called Brother Zhang retorted, what nonsense are you talking about? How can our factory be so good? I mean, big head, don't spread rumors all day long. The big head was not upset even after being refuted, and continued, isn't this nonsense? You see, our factory has been clamoring for a while to expand employment, recruit people, and add production lines, but it didn't take long for us to lose faith. The big boss went directly to Harbin to build a new factory. Why didn't the big boss expand recruitment here? Didn't you hear about it some time ago? Isn't it because those bunch of bureaucrats saw that we were recruiting people, and they all wanted to bring in their own relatives? As a result, when the big boss got angry, he simply refused to recruit anyone. There were no more jobs available, so I went to Harbin to build a factory, explained Brother Zhang. Okay, even if this makes sense, what happened to the order this time? When did our factory's orders stop before? Why are they gone this time? And there are still no orders within half a year. Give us half a year. Fake. Don't you think this is a joke? Even elementary school students don't let it go for half a year. I think we will never come back after we let it go. The big head continued to ask, this. Brother Zhang kept thinking about this for a long time, and finally scratched his head and said, I don't know about this, but didn't the factory say that wages will be paid during the holidays? If it's a shop, meaning closed in northeastern dialect, then why do you still pay us every month? The big head curled his lips and said, Brother Zhang, why are you suddenly unable to pay the bills? Our salary is only a few dollars, and isn't the main monthly income coming from piece rate bonuses? There are no orders now. Naturally, there is no bonus, so what will we do in the future? Although the salary is not much, it is still money. If it is what you say, then the salary should not be paid. Big head spread his hands and said, that's why I said it might be bad. If you don't even get paid, I'll just say it's definitely bad, brother. Zhang was also a little flustered by the big head, so he sighed and said, hey, let's take it one step at a time. Such a good factory is right at our doorstep. I really don't want him to become a prostitute. Otherwise, where can I find a job? Such discussions occurred in many places. Even Luhan's home was no exception. As soon as Luhan arrived home that day, Mother Lu pulled him over and nagged. Look, I urged you to go on a blind date some time ago, but you didn't go. Now it's fine. Even if you want to go, they won't go. It's coming. Why don't you come? I just don't want to go. Luhan said nonchalantly. Mother Lu became anxious when she heard this. Hey, you kid, why aren't you in a hurry? You said you're already a grown up, so why don't you get married as soon as possible? By the way, is your factory really going to go bankrupt? Otherwise, those girls, why don't you come over for a blind date? There used to be a lot of people coming to see me all day long, but now there are only a few. Mom, don't talk nonsense. Our factory is good. How can it be bad? Luhan retorted. Mother Lu answered confidently, but that's what's being said outside. They say that they don't hire workers anymore. There are no more orders, and the workers are on holiday. It's a sign that the shop is going bankrupt. They also say that the capitalist's factory won't last as long as ***s. That's all rumors outside. Mom, don't believe them. These problems are temporary. They will be fine in half a year. Although Luhan advised his mother like this, he felt a little cold in his heart. Even his mother heard such rumors. You can imagine how it has spread outside now. This won't work. I have to think of a way. The morale of the army must not be disturbed, otherwise it will be much more difficult to deal with it in the future. P.S. Originally, I wanted to write about Luhan's accident in this part, but my friends around me said that it's better to write less or not write such a sad plot. After thinking for a long time, I decided to replace it, so I rewrote these 2 chapters, which delayed yesterday's update. Please forgive me. Chapter 258, The Master. The next day, as soon as Luhan arrived at work, he received a call from the mayor's secretary, saying that Mayor Wang wanted to see him. It seemed to be related to the recent half-year leave at the branch factory. When Luhan heard this, his heart dropped. Needless to say, those rumors must have reached the mayor. It seemed that things were really going to get serious. After getting into the car with a heavy heart, Luhan asked the driver, Xiaoli, are there a lot of rumors about our factory recently? Xiaoli nodded and said, yes, factory director, there have been a lot of rumors about our factory recently. Everything. Well, remember to tell me in time if you hear such rumors in the future, otherwise we will be easily passive. Luhan ordered. Okay, director, I will tell you as soon as I hear it again. After saying that, he hesitated and then asked, Director, our factory is not really going bad, is it? If others believe the rumors, then forget it. Why are you worried about this when you follow me around every day? Luhan said angrily. Xiaoli replied with a grimace. Director, it's not that I believe the rumors. It's true that they all spread rumors. It's hard not to panic, especially since my wife asks me every day if I know the latest news. Before he could finish speaking, Luhan interrupted him and said disdainfully, with your wife's mouth, you can't tell her if she knows. If she knows, it means everyone in the city knows. Hey, there's nothing I can do about it, but people with such a long tongue love to inquire. Xiaoli said helplessly. The two of them chatted and quickly arrived at the city hall, but what surprised Luhan was that Mayor Wang's secretary Wen Han did not take him to Mayor Wang's office, but took him to his own office. Secretary Wen's explanation for this was, Director Lu, Mayor Wang has to receive a lot of people today. Please rest here for a while. I just got a can of good tea here. Come and try it. But at this time, Luhan had no intention of drinking tea. He took the opportunity to ask Wen Hong, Brother Wen, why is Mayor Wang so anxious to find me today? What else could it be? Of course it's your factory's business. Xiaolu, I'm not talking about you. The recent rumors about your factory are not very good. First, the promised expansion of recruitment was abandoned halfway, and then the production was suddenly suspended for workers. It's a holiday. You must know that your gang branch is now the most stable company in the city and a banner for attracting investment in the city. Do you think Mayor Wang will not be anxious when he hears such news? Secretary Wen said slowly. Lu Han quickly explained. Brother Wen, there are reasons for both of these things. Why did the last enrollment expansion fail halfway? Aren't there some greedy people who are causing trouble? I heard that Mayor Wang once took matters into his own hands late at night. The heads of the unit all gathered together and scolded him severely. What do you mean by scolding? Why did you start spreading rumors? Okay, let's not talk about it for now. Then why do we suspend production and take a holiday? There is nothing we can do to stop production. Our raw material manufacturers are all in Hunan, but there is a flood there now, and these raw materials cannot be transported at all. How can the boss give us the order if there are no raw materials? After all, it is difficult for a clever woman to make a meal without rice. Well, so the suspension of production is unavoidable. When the disaster situation stabilizes and traffic becomes smooth, we will resume production. Lu Han said aggrievedly. Look, it's your fault. Since you have encountered difficulties, why don't you come to the government to help solve it? Do you think that the city will just ignore this foreign-funded enterprise? This kind of problem is very important to you. It's difficult for manufacturers, but there is still a solution for the government. Secretary Wen pointed at Lu Han and scolded him slightly. When Lu Han heard that there was an opportunity, he quickly said, don't you think that the country's top priority recently is flood relief, and we don't dare to disturb the leaders for such a trivial matter? But I promise, as long as the raw materials are in place, I will fight with the boss immediately and stabilize the hearts of the people within the factory without giving any breeding ground for rumors. Secretary Wen nodded with satisfaction and said, well, that's pretty much it. Let's go like this. You go to your Indian boss to get the order. As for the raw materials, I will introduce you to an expert. He has a way to solve it for you. But the price may be a bit more expensive than usual. That's no problem. Given the current situation, transportation and storage costs will definitely be high, so as long as it's within a reasonable range, we can accept it. In fact, after hearing this, Lu Han already understood what Mayor Wang meant by looking for him this time. Now, this concern about the stability of the factory is fake. Taking the opportunity to arrange for people to sell raw materials to him is the biggest purpose. However, it is not convenient for the mayor to come forward for this kind of thing, so he asked his secretary to come forward and tell him. But this guy is very powerful. He can convince the deputy mayor to become a lobbyist. So Lu Han took advantage of the situation and inquired, Brother Wen, when can you arrange for me to get to know this expert? Let's talk while eating at Hangbin restaurant tonight. Secretary Wen said with a smile. Sure enough, after the business was settled, Mayor Wang had nothing to do here. He simply said a few words to Lu Han and sent him away. Although Lu Han made various guesses about the identity of this mysterious master, he was still shocked when he arrived at the private room of Hangbin restaurant in the evening, because apart from Secretary Wen, there were only two beauties in the private room, and he was not there at all. The mysterious boss of your imagination. Seeing Lu Han's surprised look, Secretary Wen stepped forward and introduced. This is the famous director Lu Han of the first branch of Heng Pharmaceuticals. Then he pointed to one of the beautiful women in her 30s with noble temperament and introduced to Lu Han, this is the expert I told you about, Ms. Dong Hangzhou of Hangxiu Pharmaceuticals, and this is her assistant Miss Wan Fang Fang. What? Expert? He is just a small businessman. Director Lu is really young and promising. Dong Hangzhou praised Lu Han and took the initiative to extend her hand to shake hands, although Lu Han was very puzzled why this expert would be a woman, and he had been in this industry for so long and had never heard of Hangxiu Pharmaceuticals. He still said politely, as long as they can solve our current predicament, they are all experts. Okay, two big bosses, don't be modest to each other. Let's sit down first. It's so tiring to stand. Secretary Wen persuaded with a smile, and then arranged for several people to sit down, but interestingly, he arranged Wan Fang Fang to sit next to Lu Han. To be continued. Chapter 259 Spoiling the Fun. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, Dong Hangsu first brought up the business. Director Lu, I heard that your factory seems to need a batch of raw materials recently. Lu Han nodded and said, yes, due to the flood in the south, our raw materials cannot be transported, so now the orders from the main factory are not sent to us. Isn't it that the workers below are very dissatisfied? Then I wonder how much raw materials your factory needs? Dong Hangsu asked. Lu Han calculated in his mind and then said, well, at least XX tons are needed. Oh, the quantity is so large. Your factory is really strong. Dong Hangsu covered her mouth and exclaimed, our production line is more advanced, so if the raw materials are too little, the production task will still not be full. Lu Han explained. Secretary Wen chimed in. Heng Pharmaceuticals is a global pharmaceutical company, and our Director Lu's first branch is a branch with the heaviest production task, so boss Dong, don't underestimate Director Lu's strength. Then, I'll ask Director Lu to take care of me in the future. Dong Hangsu said to Lu Han with a smile. The head office here has a price range limit for us. Prices exceeding this range must be reported to the boss for approval. Lu Han shirked. Dong Hangsu first gave Secretary Wen a look and then whispered to Lu Han, Director Lu, don't worry, our price will definitely satisfy you. As soon as she finished speaking, Secretary Wen understood and stood up to apologize and went to the bathroom. As soon as he left, Dong Hangsu took out 5 bundles of 100 yuan bills from her bag and pushed them to Lu Han, saying, Director Lu, this is a small gift from us. Please accept it. Lu Han refused again and again. No, 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 boss Dong, this is absolutely not possible. You take the money back. I absolutely cannot accept it. Dong Hangsu thought Lu Han was pretending to refuse, so she continued to persuade him. How can you take back the money you have taken out? Director Lu, if you don't say anything, it means you are complaining about it. This is not a question of how much money there is. Boss Dong, you don't know, our Indian boss hates his subordinates the most. He usually gives very high salaries and benefits to meet the living needs of his subordinates, but once he finds out that there is corruption and bribery, it is a one-shot sentence. There is no room for maneuver, so if I accept this money, it means I don't want to do it anymore. Lu Han explained with a wry smile. Dong Hangsu said nonchalantly, there is no one else here, and the heavens, the earth, you and I all know it, so what are you afraid of? No, no, you don't know how powerful our boss is. Even if I don't report to him, he knows everything about the factory, so it's really not worth it for me to take this risk for such a small matter. Lu Han said firmly. Seeing Lu Han's firm attitude, Dong Hangsu knew that he would not accept the money, so she gave Wan Fang Fang beside Lu Han a look and planned to start the second plan. Sure enough, from this moment on, Wan Fang Fang began to get close to Lu Han, while Dong Hangsu and Secretary Wen kept urging Lu Han to drink. Lu Han thought he had a good alcohol tolerance and didn't take it seriously. He drank the wine to the bottom of the glass, but not long after, he felt his head swollen and couldn't help wondering, why is the alcohol so strong today? At this time, Secretary Wen advised, Xiao Lu, since you drank too much today, don't go back. I'll go upstairs and get you a room. You can rest here, then I'll trouble brother Wen. Lu Han said with a big tongue. Not long after, the banquet was over, and Secretary Wen and Wan Fang Fang helped Lu Han upstairs together. However, when they saw the room, Secretary Wen suddenly received a call, so he handed Lu Han to Wan Fang Fang and ran to the side to answer the phone. Lu Han didn't take it seriously at first, but after Wan Fang Fang entered the room, she actually locked the door and hung up the do not disturb sign. Lu Han was shocked and asked, Miss Wan, what do you mean by this? Unexpectedly, Wan Fang Fang didn't answer his question at all. Instead, she pushed him to the bed and said, Director Lu, you should get some sleep and wake up. Then she started to help Lu Han take off his clothes. What's more exaggerated is that she even helped him take off his pants. Lu Han quickly blocked her and said, No, no, I'll do it myself. Miss Wan, thank you for sending me back. I can do my own things next. Director Lu, why are you being so polite to me? You just finished drinking, and it's hard for you to walk. I can't rest assured to let you stay here alone. Ouch. As she said that, she seemed to fall on Luhan's body and then rolled into Luhan's arms, and her hot red lips sealed Luhan's mouth. Maybe it was the effect of the alcohol, maybe it was because he hadn't tasted meat for a long time, or maybe it was the stimulation of holding a soft jade in his arms. In short, Luhan couldn't control his desire at this time and had a very enjoyable battle with the woman in his arms. How about considering a Luhan's internal drama? It seems that Shakru is a bit monotonous all the time. After the battle, Luhan seemed to be a little drunk. He smiled bitterly and said to Wan Fang Fang, who was lying in his arms and still enjoying the afterglow of passion, "Hey, it seems that I have to buy from your boss Dang this time." Unexpectedly, Wan Fang Fang gently hit him. "Don't talk about such a boring topic. You have ruined the romantic mood and comfortable feeling. Did you really feel good just now? I thought you were pretending." Luhan pinched Wan Fang Fang's plumpness and teased her. Wan Fang Fang snorted and said, "HMPH, you've been tossing me for nearly an hour, and my butt is still sore now, so why should I pretend? And, I'm a good girl. Didn't you feel how tight I was down there just now? I haven't done it for almost a year. Oh, I was drunk just now, and my head was dizzy, so I really didn't feel it. How about I feel it carefully now?" As he said that, Luhan was about to press Wan Fang Fang under him. Wan Fang Fang surrendered again and again. "No, no, no, please let me rest for a while, okay? I really can't stand your tossing now. Anyway, as long as you agree to Sister Dong, I will be your exclusive marketing representative in the future, and you have plenty of time to enjoy me." "Look, it's you who's ruining the mood now. I didn't say such a boring topic," Luhan said, pretending to be dissatisfied. Chapter 260. HMPH, you're a stingy man, just thinking about bullying others. The worst, they will help you with their mouths." Wan Fang Fang said aggrievedly. Okay, how can I be so stingy? Okay, now let's get down to business. I really can't agree to the price you offered Sister Dang. It has already exceeded the authority given to me by the boss. Luhan kissed Wan Fang Fang and then said seriously. Wan Fang Fang begged, "My dear, I'm begging you, please promise Sister Dong, otherwise I won't be able to explain when I go back what's going on. If I don't agree, will she still make things difficult for you?" Luhan asked in surprise. "It's not difficult, but if I don't accomplish what she asked me to do, I won't be able to get the reward she promised me." Wan Fang Fang said aggrievedly. "You need money badly?" Wan Fang Fang nodded and said, "Of course, otherwise who would want to ruin their body? My father passed away early, my mother was bedridden, and my younger brother was admitted to college. If I don't work hard to make money, what will happen to this family? What about the exclusive marketing representative you just mentioned?" Luhan continued to ask. "To put it simply, every time you purchase goods from Sister Dong, I will get a commission. Although it is definitely not comparable to the bonus this time, it is better than the steady flow." Wan Fang Fang explained. "Hey, when was your Ed sleeve medicine established? How come I haven't heard of it before? Also, your Sister Dong is very well connected. She can actually get Mayor Wang to speak for her." Hongxiu medicine has only been established for more than a month. Of course you have never heard of it. As for why Mayor Wang will speak for us, the reason is very simple. Don't you think Sister Dong is a great beauty? Wan Fang Fang said mysteriously. "Indeed, but she is not as young and beautiful as you," Luhan replied casually, but suddenly an idea flashed in his mind, and he exclaimed in shock, "Oh my god, you Sister Dong is not Mayor Wang." Wan Fang Fang nodded and said proudly, "Yes, the relationship between Sister Dong and Mayor Wang is equivalent to the relationship between the two of us. In fact, Sister Dong's Hongxiu medicine is a cover. All our medicinal materials are from the city pharmaceutical factory. We collect the price of the defective products and then resell them to you at the normal price. Now you don't have to worry about the quality of the raw materials. State-owned pharmaceutical companies purchased medicinal materials at normal prices and then sold them to related households at the price of processed products. The related households then sold them to another pharmaceutical dealer at a price slightly lower than the market price. This method was not uncommon at the time. In any case, it is the country and the individuals who make money who suffer in the end. Of course, no one who can afford this skill has a simple background. Later, Lu Han found out that Sister Dang was interested in more than medicine. Under the protection of Mayor Wang, her hands stretched longer and longer, and the scope of involvement became wider and wider. Finally, Mayor Wang, it was tantamount to being dragged into the water by her. After hearing this secret, Lu Han's brain began to think rapidly. Although Dang Hang's bid was slightly higher, firstly, considering the difficulty of obtaining raw materials and the importance of maintaining mental stability of the factory workers. Secondly, you have to consider that through her, you can connect with Mayor Wang, so it's not impossible to fight with the boss on this. Although he thought so in his heart, Lu Han still pretended to be dissatisfied and complained. Since your sister Dang's purchase price is so cheap, then sell it to us at the market price and she will make a lot of money, so why do you still need it? Lift it up. Who can complain about making too much money? Besides, if I sell it at the market price, then my role will not be visible. Then why should I earn Sister Dang's bonus? Wan Fang replied with a pouted mouth. Lu Han argued, then it's hard to find big customers like me. Not to mention in the city, not even in the whole province or even the entire northeast. There are not many that can purchase as much as our gang, and for I don't have to pay shipping costs when supplying goods. So winning over a big customer like me is not much more important than a small profit. It's because I know you are a big customer that Sister Dang is willing to send me out. You must know that I'm Sister Dang's secret weapon. I'm usually reluctant to take it out. My dear, I beg you please. I will satisfy you now. As he said that, his body slid under the quilt point. Although Lu Han had seen various kinds of biting in live action movies produced in Japan, this was the first time he had seen it in reality. In addition, Wan Fang's kung fu was indeed very powerful, so Lu Han was. While growling, he sprayed all the essence into Wan Fang's little mouth point unexpectedly. Wan Fang not only had no intention of refusing, she even took the initiative to help Lu Han clean his private parts, then went out to brush his teeth and rinse his mouth. Finally, she returned to his arms and said softly, I feel so good for you. Just agree, Lu. Hanji hesitated for a while, then raised two fingers and said, two conditions. One is to reduce the price by 10%, and the other is that you come to stay with me for at least 3 days every month. No problem, my dear, you are so powerful. Even if you don't want me to come, I will miss you. After trying you, I probably won't feel anything if I meet anyone else. Wan Fang presented the incense. Kiss said excitedly, how come you, Sister Dang, will give you to other people in the future? Lu Han said with some dissatisfaction, who do you think I am? How could I accompany others after spending time with you? Wan Fang turned around angrily. Lu Han defended, then why do you think you won't feel anything when you meet other people? Then, won't I have to marry someone in the future? Are you going to marry me? Wan Fang said helplessly. This sentence stumped Lu Han. Although he liked Wan Fang's body and skills very much, there was almost no possibility of marrying her. Seeing Lu Han like this, Wan Fang turned around and lay on him, drawing circles on his chest with her little hands while comforting him. Don't worry, at worst I will find an honest man to marry in the future, and then when you miss me, I can still come to accompany you. If Shakru heard her words, he would probably shout in his heart, honest people, how can I offend you green tea bitches? PS. Why are there so many weddings today? I gave 4 gifts, and the banquets were like rushing to the scene. I was so busy that I almost had no time to write. The most annoying thing is that there is another wedding tomorrow, which is my wife's best friend's wedding, and I have to go to pick up the bride. To be continued. Chapter 261, Stabilizing People's Hearts. After receiving Lu Han's report, Shakru thought about it and felt that it was worthwhile to spend 0.5% more to get the mayor's name, so he agreed to Lu Han's request to change the raw material supplier, but still told Lu Han must pay attention to the quality of raw materials. He would rather offend others than affect the quality of the product point. After receiving Shakru's reply, Lu Han began to convene a factory-wide meeting with great fanfare. At the meeting, he said excitedly and loudly, the main purpose of holding this factory-wide meeting today is twofold. The first is to relieve everyone's doubts I know that some people didn't quite understand some of the factory's decision some time ago, and there were even many irresponsible rumors being spread around. I want to emphasize here that everyone must have confidence in the factory. The reason why we announced a shutdown some time ago is not that the main factory did not give us orders for branch factories, but that our raw materials are gone. The raw material manufacturers that cooperate with our factory are all in Hunan, and Hunan is the focus of this flood. In the disaster area, people are barely alive now. How can they still have time and energy to distribute raw materials to us? And even if he wanted to, the traffic in the disaster area wouldn't allow it. So we had to stop work and take a holiday. Point the second is to announce good news to everyone. That is, with the concern of the city leaders, the city government has helped us contact a new raw material supplier, and the raw materials will be available for normal supply soon. At the same time, I also submitted an application to resume production to the boss, and got the approval of the boss, Mr. Pandit, and a part of the orders from the main factory were sent to us, so our branch factory can start normal operations next week. At this point, the workers below applauded one after another. After all, only if you place orders will you get bonuses. With bonuses, you don't have to worry about your family's livelihood, your son's tuition, the elderly's medical expenses, and your own wine money. So this kind of care touches everyone. Good deeds of vital interest will naturally arouse everyone's cheers. After everyone calmed down a little, Luhan continued, in addition, I have a few words to say to you. Although our factory is a branch factory, the boss, Mr. Pandit, has always been very concerned about our factory. For the development of our company, he has told me more than once that the main force of production in the future must be our branch factory. In the future, the main factory will not even be responsible for any production tasks, and all production tasks will be handed over to overseas branches. But everyone has also seen that, whether it was the plague incident at the main factory in the past 2 years or the large-scale floods in China this year, it shows that putting all eggs in one basket does not work. So the possible establishment of branch factories in other places is not to give up on us, but to leave an additional escape route. So please don't think too much. Point in the future, there will be more branch factories. How many orders our branch factory can get by then, and whether we can increase the salary will still depend on the quality of everyone's work. Therefore, starting from the resumption of work next week, we will have to pay attention to the quality of work and work efficiency. The requirements will be more stringent. After this meeting, people in the factory finally stabilized, and all kinds of rumors died down. The most obvious example was, when Luhan returned home, Mother Lu began to encourage him to go on a blind date again. Son, are you still here? It's really amazing. I just held a meeting, and said a few words, and all the people who were looking for you on a blind date came again. It's not that I'm great. Firstly, the city leaders help us contact the raw materials. Secondly, the big boss is willing to place the order with us. I just act as a sounding board. Luhan explained. What's wrong with the microphone? Even if it is a microphone, they are not very good at it. Otherwise, how could they get up on the pole and send the girl to our door? Mother Lu said happily, and then gave her habitual advice. Son, I think that girl from the old Tang family is pretty good. She is tall, thin, has graduated from a technical secondary school, and is also well educated. Why don't you go and meet her? Originally, Mother Lu just said it casually, with no hope at all, because she was used to being rejected by her son. But she was in a good mood today, so she just said it casually, but she didn't expect that her son would actually challenge her this time. Just listen to him say, Mom, I remember that you seem to have a lot of photos and information of girls here. Bring them over, and show them to me. I will pick 2 myself, and then you can help me arrange them. Hearing his son's words, not to mention Mother Lu was stunned for a moment. Even Father Lu next to him was stunned. What happened to his son? In the past, he refused to go on a blind date despite all the talk, coercion, and inducement. Why did he suddenly change his gender today? So Father Lu asked curiously, Son, what's wrong with you? Is something really wrong? You were unhappy when I didn't agree to go on a blind date before. Why are you becoming suspicious again, now that I have agreed to go on a blind date? What can I do? I'm not good at this. Lu Han said angrily. Although Mother Lu also felt that her son had changed too quickly, she felt that it was always a good thing that her son was willing to go on a blind date. So she scolded her husband, "You damn old man, my son finally figured it out. If I'll let you mess with it again, see if I don't finish with you." After saying that, he ran to the back room, took out a big paper box, took out all the photos and information inside, and explained to his son one by one whose family this girl was, and what her conditions were. In fact, the reason for Lu Han's change of mind this time was one Fang. After lingering with this little fairy for a few days, Lu Han felt that Chinese girls nowadays are becoming more and more open-minded and influenced by the outside world. If you hurry up, there will definitely be fewer and fewer good girls in the future. In addition, influenced by his boss, men can have a happy family and colorful flags outside. However, the premise of such a fairy-like life is to find a gentle and virtuous girl who can tolerate his occasional romantic life outside. Although he doesn't like blind dates very much, he must admit that this is the most effective way to find a good girl. After all, this kind of introduction method is that both parties know each other well, which is much more reliable than meeting girls outside. After some searching, Lu Han unexpectedly saw a few pretty good-looking girls in the photos provided by his mother. How wonderful it was when there was no Mituzuxiu and various magical cosmetics. You could determine a person's appearance by looking at the photos, unlike the girls nowadays who are ever changing. One in the photos, another in the meeting, and another after removing makeup, and soon Lu Han decided, "Mom, please help me arrange to meet these girls." But his choice made his parents very confused. Chapter 262 Blind Date. "Son, what are your standards? Isn't the girl from Director Wu's family quite beautiful? Why were you excluded?" Father Lu asked in confusion. "The reason is very simple, because she is Director Wu's girl, otherwise I would definitely not exclude her," Lu Han explained calmly. This explanation obviously made Father Lu very dissatisfied. "Hey, what's your reason? This is the first time I heard that someone refused because of their good family conditions. Who is looking for a partner and doesn't want to find someone with a good family? Do you still have to find someone with a poor family situation? Son, think about it. If you become Director Wu's son-in-law, how many years will you have to struggle in the future?" Lu Han shook his head and said, "I don't plan to be an official, so I don't need Director Wu's help. Besides, children from official families like them have probably been pampered since they were young. If you really get married, then she will be the one to take care of you. Are you still waiting for her? You child, your father and I are both in good health, so how can we be cared for by anyone? Besides, there is one in every family now. Even if you are not an official girl, do you think you know how to work? So, you don't have to consider us. Just find what you like." Although Mother Lu said this, she was still very happy in her heart. Her son had indeed grown up and knew how to consider his parents' feelings. That's why girls from ordinary families have a higher probability of doing housework. Otherwise, meet the ones I mentioned first. If there is no suitable one, then go to meet the daughter of Director Wu's family. Do you think this will work?" Lu Han took a step back and said. Although Lu Han was very glad that mainland girls did not like foreign girls like the boss pandit who liked to wear thick makeup that could hide their true appearance, the result of this first blind date was for him one stick point, because the girls Ankyali we met this time came here wearing heavy makeup. In fact, the word rich makeup is not enough to fully describe her outfit today. Lu Han felt that the perfume on her body was strong enough to kill mosquitoes and the foundation on her face thick comparing the newly painted walls. The nail polish on the fingers and toes of his new home was so messy that he couldn't bear to look at it. He sighed secretly in his heart. Who said that mainland girls are simple and natural? This is a slap in the face. It came too fast. Lu Han was sighing secretly here, but he didn't know that the girl opposite was also muttering in his heart. They said he was a factory director. It is said that he often goes abroad. How come he has no experience at all? When he sees a beautiful woman, he is so dumb that he can't speak. Oh, it seems that the people from the north are not as knowledgeable as those from the south. If I had known it, I would have stayed in the south and never come back. This time, Luhan also realized that his stunned look seemed a bit rude, so he took the initiative to reach out and said, "Hello, you are Miss Zhang Qiaoling." Zhang Qiaoli stretched out her little hand in a slightly reserved manner and replied with some dissatisfaction, "Don't call her by this name, it's too tacky. Let's call her by her English name, Lisa." Lu Han thought to himself that the name Lisa was not necessarily too foreign, but he still said politely, "Okay, then I'll call you Miss Lisa, but I'm curious, why do you want an English name? I have been working in the South for the past 2 years. Everyone there must have an English name, which not only looks foreign, but also makes it easier to deal with foreigners." Zhang Qiaoli replied proudly, "As far as I know, there are only 2 professions in the South that require an English name and often deal with foreigners. One is a senior executive of a foreign company, and the other is a young lady in a nightclub. But you look like this. Why? He doesn't even look like a senior executive," Luhan complained in his mind. But he asked, "Oh, it seems that Miss Lisa often interacts with foreigners, so she must speak good English." Zhang Qiaoli replied slightly awkwardly, "Well, my English is not very good. I only know a few common words." Then she immediately changed the subject and asked Luhan, "I heard that factory director Lu is the director of a foreign company. I guess your English must be very good." "It's okay, mainly because we have more exchanges with the main factory now, so most of the skills are learned through hard work. However, our boss speaks Chinese very well. Sometimes I even think his northeastern dialect is better than I also want to be authentic." Luhan replied politely, but he was thinking in his heart, well, if it is a career like foreign love action movies, then just knowing a few common exclamations will be enough. "By the way, Factory Director Lu, I heard that your car is an Audi A6. Why didn't I see it outside just now? Did the car break down today?" Zhang Qiaoli asked pointedly. Luhan shook his head and replied, "This Audi was assigned to me by the factory. I only have the right to use it, but not ownership, so I only drive this car when doing business, and I don't usually drive it when doing personal business. You are too cautious. The boss has given it to you, so just drive it. If you don't drive the car, wouldn't it be a waste?" Zhang Qiaoli pouted and said with some dissatisfaction, "I work for a private employer, which is different from working for a state-owned enterprise, so it's better to be cautious." Luhan replied unmoved, "Then, you only have the right to live in your house, but not the right to own it, right?" Luhan nodded and said, "That's right. It is true that he only has the right of residence and no ownership. However, when I leave office, I can choose to buy him out at a relatively low price." Hearing this, Zhang Qiaoli's face couldn't help but darken, and she murmured angrily, "These introducers are too unreliable. They boasted about this guy to the sky before coming here. The result is great. What do you want? It's nothing. The car and the house are all from other people's factories. They only have the right to use them, but not ownership. Bah, that's useless." Luhan was originally a person with a keen mind and good at observing people's emotions. After working as a factory director for several years, his skills in this area have increased sharply, so he could see the change in Zhang Qiaoli's expression at a glance, but he was too lazy to explain, because my impression of this woman is not good at all. I wish she would just leave." As expected, not long after, Zhang Qiaoli took the initiative to leave on the pretext of something going on at home. Although she said that they would get together again in the future, everyone could see that she had no sincerity at all, and Luhan would not reveal it. It's polite he sent her away, but as soon as she left, Luhan called the driver Xiaoli. "Hey, Xiaoli, ask your wife if she knows the second girl from the Zhang family of the third factory." "Yes, what is the origin of that person named Zhang Qiaoli?" Chapter 263 School Beauty. It turns out that Xiaoli's wife's title of the Gossip King is not for nothing. She quickly reported the news about Zhang Qiaoli. It is said that Zhang Qiaoli was not a stable child since she was young. She didn't even graduate from junior high school and she didn't want to study anymore. She followed a group of gangsters and wandered around the streets all day. 2 years ago, I don't know who introduced her to go to the south to work. Unexpectedly, she got on the road soon. She was said to be a public relations manager in some company. Anyway, she made a lot of money. Not only did she send money home every now and then, but every time she went home, she spent so much money that it was shocking point. But what was even more unexpected was that her family would never let her continue with such a good job. This time when she came back, her parents forced her to get married and not to go to the south again, so she went on blind dates everywhere during this period. However, according to Xiaoli's wife's irresponsible speculation, it is estimated that she did not do a serious job in the south. Otherwise, how could a girl dress herself up like a fairy all day long? The blind dates that followed were of all kinds, including simple village girls who held the lofty ideal of working hard and being filial to their parents-in-law, little princesses who were spoiled since childhood despite their average family background, and girls who had lofty ambitions but a fragile life and always felt that fate was unfair to them. These three scenarios require at least 2 chapters to be written. As for why they were not written, I will talk about it at the end of the chapter. Just when Luhan had lost confidence in blind dates, he finally encountered a surprise point. Originally, Luhan didn't want to come to this blind date. His mother forced him to come, so he didn't even look at the information about the blind date. He just wanted to come and deal with it casually. Just when Luhan picked up the coffee cup and was about to take a sip, he suddenly found a girl in a white dress walking over from a distance. Although she was wearing the simplest white dress, she still couldn't hide her slender figure. Although she didn't wear much makeup, she was much prettier than Xiaoli, who was heavily made up. Although she didn't wear any jewelry, she was still the kind of beauty that would attract a high rate of turning heads wherever she went. However, these were not the reasons for Luhan's surprise, because he knew this beauty. Not only did he know her, but they were also classmates. It was just that she was a top student and he was a poor student. Although they were in the same class, the distance between them seemed to be separated by a chasm. This girl was the celebrity of Luhan's class and even the whole school. She was always the first in the school. She was directly admitted to a famous university in the college entrance examination. She was the kind of person that all the teachers and principals in the school admired. So although Luhan knew that the person he would go on a blind date with today would be his classmate, he never expected it to be her. Therefore, Luhan stood up and said uncertainly, Fang Yap. Fang Yap, who walked over gracefully, was very generous and natural, and smiled lightly. What's wrong? After becoming a big factory director, you don't even recognize your old classmates. Luhan waved his hands repeatedly and said, No, it's just that I never expected that it would be you who came. This really surprised me. What's wrong? Do you think I'm not worthy of you as a big factory director, so I'm not worthy of going on a blind date with you? Fang Ya said, pretending to be unhappy. What are you talking about? It's obviously me who is not worthy of you. You were the academic bully and school beauty of our school back then, so I didn't dare to think about you at all. Luhan explained. Fang Ya shook her head and smiled bitterly. Hey, what school beauty? It's become a joke now. What's wrong with graduating from a famous university? You still have to be laid off. No way. Even you were laid off. What did the leader think? How can a famous university student like you be so easy to find now? Luhan asked, puzzled. The factory is now heavily in debt and can't even pay wages, let alone research funds, so researchers like me are useless. In fact, it's not that there is no way to avoid being laid off. The factory director wants me to be his daughter-in-law, but I don't want to do that. Fang Ya looked out the window and said lightly. Luhan was angry when he heard it. How dare he say such a disgusting condition? You're right not to do it. Come to our factory. We need top students like you in the computer department. Isn't your factory not recruiting people? Fang Ya asked in surprise. Ordinary workers are indeed not recruited, but high-tech talents like you, especially top students who graduated from famous universities, I believe our boss will not refuse, and as the factory director, I still have a few special quotas. This is not Luhan bragging. When he applied to change the raw material supplier last time, Shakru specially gave him 5 activity quotas to facilitate Luhan to deal with these leaders. Oh, you've really become a big factory manager. Even the way you talk is different. Fang Ya's eyes were full of excitement. Old classmate, please don't tease me. Even my thick skin feels a little feverish now. Luhan said politely. Fang Ya shook her head and said, I'm really not teasing you. To be honest, you are the best among all our classmates now. You have become the factory manager of a foreigner. By the way, can you tell me how you became this factory manager? There are all kinds of rumors outside. I want to hear the original version today. In fact, Luhan had heard similar rumors before, and there were so many versions that it was beyond imagination. It can be seen that everyone had their own opinions on his success. After sorting out his thoughts, Luhan said, okay, then I'll tell you, but the original version may be the most boring one. In fact, I took advantage of the first move at the beginning, because at that time many people had no confidence in foreign funded companies, so the factory didn't recruit many people, and I just wanted to perform well, and get more bonuses. I never dared to hope to become the factory director, let alone imagine the current scale and status of the factory. As Luhan told the story, Fang Ya's heart was constantly fluctuating. With her intelligence, she naturally heard that Luhan was telling the truth, but the more this happened, the more she felt a little disappointed. It seems that sometimes the ability to seize opportunities is even more important than one's own strength. Luhan and herself are two representative extreme examples. In fact, according to Fang Ya's original intention, although she came here for a blind date today, she was unwilling to commit to Luhan, but an incident that happened a few days later completely changed her mind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264 Toast. July 9th is a good day because it falls on the 6th day of June in the lunar calendar and is also a Saturday, so there are a lot of weddings on this day. As a time-honored hotel in the city that hosts wedding celebrations, all 4 halls of Baishan Hotel were full. Relatives of each family and hotel staff are very busy. Just when everyone was busiest, someone suddenly said in surprise, hey, Director Lu from Heng Pharmaceutical is here. Leo Zhang, how did you know it was him? Asked a person next to him. Leo Zhang pointed at the Audi in the distance and said, look, Leo-san, isn't that Audi A6's? TCH, it can't be, that his driver's only drove here to support the scene. Leo-san retorted, if it was to support the scene, then this Audi would have been the lead car long ago. How could it come here at this time? So it must be factory director Lu himself. Leo Zhang replied confidently. It turned out that Leo Zhang was right. It was Luhan who drove here by himself this time. But to his surprise, he was not the only one who came this time. There was also a tall and beautiful woman in white clothes. Hey, Leo Zhang, why does this girl look so familiar? Leo's son asked, pointing to the beautiful woman in white. You said you didn't even recognize her with the look in your eyes. Isn't this a beauty from the electromechanical factory? Leo Zhang explained casually. Leo's son suddenly realized, oh, I told you, why it looks so familiar to me. Hey, when did they get together, then? I don't know, but it's not allowed for 2 people, the man and the woman, to be unmarried, to be together? Leo Zhang said with disdain. I didn't say it couldn't be done. I just sighed that this boy from the old Lu family was very lucky. Not only did he become the director of a big factory, but he also became a factory belle. Hey, this guy really had a smooth journey. Leo's son said with emotion. In fact, it was not only Leo's son who was surprised, but also everyone at the wedding banquet, who knew Luhan and Fang Ya, especially their classmates, because Luhan came to attend the wedding of his high school classmates. As soon as he entered the hall, the bride and groom hurriedly greeted him. Luhan, thank you, thank you. You said you were so busy, and you came all the way. No matter how busy I am, I still have to attend Ping Yuan's wedding. Unfortunately, I was on a business trip a few days ago. I just came back and didn't catch up with the wedding reception in the morning. Don't be surprised, sister-in-law. Luhan said with a smile. The bride quickly replied, Director Lu, you are a busy man, so we are very happy to be here. Lu Han waved his hand and said, what is the director of the factory? We are all classmates here today. By the way, let me introduce to you, this person is also from our high school. Before he could introduce her, the groom said with a smile, who doesn't know Goddess Fang Yafeng in our #1 middle school? Why should you introduce me? Hey, I didn't see it. When did you get together? Woo. Pingyun, don't talk nonsense. I just rode Luhan's car here today. I don't have that kind of relationship with him. Fang Ya said with a blushing face point. Although Fang Ya explained it this way, many people here still didn't believe it. Since we were all classmates, when we assigned seats, it was natural for boys to sit at one table and for girls to sit at another table. As soon as Fang Ya sat down, a female classmate next to her asked her in a low voice, "Fang Ya, you and Luhan really have nothing to do with each other. Are you in the right place? Really? Not." In fact, Fang Ya was telling the truth. Although she and Luhan were on a blind date and entered Gang Pharmaceutical Factory with his help, and they had seen each other every now and then recently, she still felt that in her heart she did not regard Luhan as her boyfriend, because she always cared about the educational gap between the two. She was a graduate of a prestigious university, but Luhan was only a technical secondary school student. The gap was too big. Then, do you know if he has a girlfriend now? The girl continued to ask. Fang Ya hesitated for a moment and then replied, "As far as I know, there shouldn't be. That's good." Before Fang Ya could figure out why the female classmate named Zhaolan said this, she saw Zhaolan tidying up her clothes and taking out her powder box to touch up her makeup. He walked to Luhan's table with the wine glass in hand. Not only that, there were several girls on the table who seemed to suddenly realize it, and they all went to toast with their wine glasses. So all of a sudden, a very abnormal situation occurred. At usual class reunions, male students would go to the female students' table to toast, but today, a large group of female students took the initiative to propose a toast to the male students' table. If only one girl came, everyone would think it was nothing, but if several came in a row, even the slowest people would understand. A dull-looking boy asked the classmates around him, "Hey, old man, why are these girls so proactive in coming to our place to toast today?" Leo Hao shook his head and sighed. "Do you think they all came here to toast us? You don't even look at where each of them stood when they were toasting." Especially Zhaolan just now wanted to have her whole body covered with alcohol. Squeeze into someone's arms. Luhan has the deepest experience about this. When Zhaolan came over to toast, he felt something was wrong. This woman kept pushing towards him, not caring that their bodies were already touching each other. You know it's July now, it's summer, and everyone doesn't wear much. She squeezed in like this, which made her act on the spot. But instead of hiding, this woman actually glanced at her provocatively. If it hadn't been for what happened later, the girl urged her, not sure what she would do. When the next few female classmates also crowded around him to toast everyone, and then chatted with him for a few words, the quick-witted Luhan had roughly understood what these female classmates were thinking. As expected, when he went to the karaoke bar to sing after the banquet, Luhan found that the real test had come. P.S. To be honest, I felt very happy writing this plot about Luhan. I like this kind of story that reflects the fierce collision between traditional values and foreign values during the reform and opening up, especially the wave of layoffs and the influx of overseas capital, thus highlighting the various aspects of life. But everyone taught me a lesson with subscriptions. The 2 chapters on Saturday created a new low in subscriptions in the history of this book. So after writing this paragraph, I will give up describing the subsequent plot and turn back to writing about the protagonist's experience. I hope that there will be a chance that Gideon will be able to relax restrictions in this regard in the future, and I will be able to write a book like this when I'm not short of money. Chapter 265. Don't leave after get off work. Sometimes we can't help feeling that as we get older, there are fewer things to play with. When we were young, there were many things to play with our friends. But when we grow up, we sadly find that there is nothing more to do than eat when we get together. In addition, the only place suitable for a group of men and women to go is to sing. If there are only a few people, you can play Imagine or something like that, but once the number of people exceeds 10, there is really no other place to go. Based on Fang Ya's original intention, she didn't want to go to a place like the karaoke bar, but after she saw Lu Han being dragged away by these classmates because he had a car, she followed her there without knowing why. Because a fat male classmate wanted to talk to Lu Han, Fang Ya sat in the back with Zhao Lan and a girl named Zhang Juan. As soon as Zhao Lan got in the car, she touched the left and right sides of the car, and then sighed to Zhang Juan, "Hey, this luxury car is great. Look how comfortable and stable it is to sit in. It's much better than Zhao Hao's Zali." Zhang Juan agreed. Fang Ya, who was sitting and listening to the two of them talking, couldn't help but rolled her eyes and thought to herself, this is an Audi A6. It can't be compared to a bad car like Zali. They are really two ignorant women. Fang Ya was too lazy to talk to them at first, but then she saw these two guys playing around with each other, so she couldn't help it anymore and said, "Hey, be careful, but if the Audi is damaged, you can't afford it. Hey, the real owner of this car hasn't said anything yet. What kind of Xiangxin are you doing? Who are you?" Zhao Lan retorted, "You." Fang Ya originally wanted to refute, but thinking that she had just said that it had nothing to do with Lu Han, she was speechless and turned her head to look out the window angrily. Zhao Lan was immediately very proud when she saw Fang Ya like this, and then deliberately asked Lu Han loudly, "Lu Han, your car must be quite expensive." Before Lu Han could say anything, Fatty Cheng, who was sitting in the passenger seat, rushed to answer, "That's expensive. That's very expensive." As he said that, he shook his 5 fat and thick fingers and said, "Sino, at least this is the number. Is this 50,000? Zhang Juan asked tentatively. Fatty Cheng said disdainfully, 50,000? Are you kidding? This is an Audi A6. It costs at least $500,000. Oh my god. It's so expensive. Lu Han, you are so rich now." Zhao Lan exclaimed. Lu Han quickly said modestly, "How can I have so much money? This is a car provided by the main factory. I only have the right to use it, not ownership. That's not all the same. Anyway, only you can use this car, so it's yours." Zhao Lan understood quite well at this moment. While the few people were talking, they quickly arrived at the karaoke hall. However, when they got off the car this time, Fang Ya was at the end. She grabbed Lu Han, while no one was paying attention, walked to a secluded corner next to her, and said with a stern face, "Lu Han, I'm warning you, you must keep your distance from that Zhao Lan and Zhang Juan for a while. You are not allowed to sit with them, let alone sing with them." Although Lu Han knew when he heard that Fang Ya was jealous and angry, he still pretended to be confused and asked, "Why? We are all classmates. If they ask me to sing, it would not be appropriate for me to refuse, because, oh no, it won't work anyway. Both of them are not good people, and they are all plotting against you." Fang Ya said with a blushing face. Lu Han laughed and said, "As a grown man, how can I be afraid of two little girls trying to trick me? But, you have a girlfriend, how can you do that kind of thing with other women?" Fang Ya said angrily, "Oh, do I have a girlfriend? Why don't I know? Where is she?" Lu Han took a step forward and said sarcastically. Fang Ya gritted her teeth and then plucked up the courage to say, we have already had a blind date. Then, wouldn't I be your girlfriend? But, let alone kiss, we haven't even held hands. How can this prove that we are boyfriend and girlfriend?" Lu Hanji said distressedly. At this time, Fang Ya didn't know where she got the courage. She took a step forward and kissed Lu Han on the cheek. Then she ran away with a blushing face. However, before leaving, she still said fiercely. He said, "Humph, if you dare to be with those two little goblins at night, see how I deal with you." Looking at Fang Ya's retreating back, Lu Han couldn't help laughing. In fact, he has no interest in Zhao Lan and Zhang Juan at all. This is not only because the appearance and attitude of these two women do not meet his standards, but more importantly, they are both single now, and Lu Han is most interested now. What he didn't want to mess with was a single woman, because once he was messed with, he would have to pester himself to get married. He didn't want to marry such a woman who was neither beautiful nor classy. Of course, Fang Ya is not included in this list, because she still meets her own standards. So during the rest of the singing process, Lu Han kept drinking with Cheng Fatty and other boys, and did not give other women a chance to get close to him. Of course, this does not mean that his class reunion was nothing more than a party. There was no gain at all except in fact, his gain this time was beyond his imagination point, because just now, when he went to the bathroom at the banquet, a female classmate bumped into him at the corner of the bathroom, and then a small note appeared in his hand. This female classmate was none other than Yimei, who was as famous as Fang Ya in number 1 middle school. If Fang Ya's nickname was Goddess, then Yimei's nickname was Female Fairy. A boy once described her very vividly. Even if Yimei is wearing a school uniform and sneakers, the first and only impression she gives to men is the bed. Fortunately, Yimei found her boyfriend, Hanfei, her current husband, when she was just in her second year of high school. Hanfei is not only tall and strong, but his father is a deputy director of the chemical factory. He is powerful and influential, so he can protect her well. But now the chemical factory has closed down. Not only Hanfei and Yimei have been laid off, but even her father-in-law, the deputy director of the chemical factory, is now just a small section chief in the geographical office, and has no power at all. The reason why Lu Han was sure that Yimei was interested in him was not only because of that extremely coincidental bump, but also because of what was written on the note: "Don't leave after get off work tomorrow. I'll go to your office to find you. Remember to send everyone away. I have something to talk to you alone." Chapter 266 Inspection. A pickup artist once said this: "In fact, the best women to pick up are not young girls who are new to society and inexperienced, but young women who are dissatisfied with reality or dissatisfied with their husbands. Because in their life, in my philosophy, marrying a good man and marrying a successful man is my biggest goal in life. I feel that this is my biggest goal. They have security throughout their lives and can enjoy the benefits without having to make any efforts. So when they find that their husband's career has begun to decline, it is not enough to meet their needs for life, or they have seen a higher end life than their husbands. When you can't achieve it, you will feel sorry for yourself and feel that you were with the wrong person in the first place. If a man appears at this time who is better than her husband in her eyes, in fact, he may not be better than her husband, then she will be easily seduced. In fact, even if you give a woman like this another chance to choose again, she will still make the wrong choice and regret it in the future. This is not because of her poor vision, but because of her greed and dissatisfaction. Yimei is such a woman. When she was in school, she felt that her husband Chen Li was the best man in the world. He was not only tall and strong, full of masculinity, but also considerate and gentle to her. The most important thing was his family conditions are particularly good, and it was only after following him that I enjoyed a life that I could never imagine before. It's a pity that such beautiful days did not last long. With the advent of the wave of layoffs and the reform of state-owned enterprises, the factory that I once relied on turned out to be useless. My husband, who once held great power, actually fell into decline, and I and my husband once had a job that was the envy of countless people. Actually, both were laid off. What disappoints her most is that her husband, who once promised to be her lifelong protector, has become decadent, which makes her feel that the future is dark. However, she saw a glimmer of light at yesterday's class reunion. Lu Han, who was once unspectacular in school, is now doing so well, becoming the head of a factory, driving a luxury car worth hundreds of thousands, and working in. Isn't it what I want to enjoy the feeling of being surrounded by stars among my classmates? Hey, I wish I had chosen to be with him. Originally she was just thinking about this matter casually, but when she saw the female classmates approaching him one by one, Yimei suddenly realized, yes, it is actually not too late to hook up now. But she wasn't going to hold the wine glass up like those brainless women. Joking and flirting with men wasn't the way to do it, so she scribbled a note and quietly waited for the opportunity. She believed that with Lu Han's IQ, he could understand what she meant in the note. As for whether he would accept her, it would depend on whether he would be waiting for her arrival in the office today. In order not to make her husband suspicious, Yimei specially found a little sister to cover her today. She even put on makeup and changed clothes at her home before taking a taxi to Heng Medicine Point. Yimei was still a little nervous at first, but at the gate she learned that the factory director had already told her that some classmates would come to see him today, so she let her go easily. This news made Yimei feel relieved. It seemed that Lu Han had been prepared, otherwise this order would not have been possible. So she began to walk towards Lu Han's office confidently. After knocking on the door and entering, Lu Han just raised his head and glanced at her lightly and then said, "Wait for me for a while. I will finish approving the document at hand and then I will talk about your business." Although Lu Han's attitude was very cold, Yi Mei knew that he was just showing off because there were still 10 minutes left until get off work. So people were coming and going in the corridor, and people often came to Lu Han to report work. So at this time it's impossible to be too enthusiastic, and it's impossible to close the door. Otherwise it will be equivalent to announcing to everyone that there is something going on between them. After about 10 minutes, the sounds of people in the corridor gradually became less and less until there was no sound. Lu Han put down the documents in his hand, pretended to go to the bathroom and walked around, and then closed the door. When he came back, seeing Lu Han's appearance, Yi Mei couldn't help but smile and said, "Director Lu, are you finished with your work now?" Lu Han didn't answer and asked instead, "You are so brave. You actually dare to come directly to the factory to find me. Coming directly to the factory and to your office shows that I'm above board and have no evil intentions." Yi Mei replied calmly. Lu Han chuckled and said, "I haven't checked. How do I know if there is a ghost in your body, Director Lu? How are you going to check?" Yi Mei followed Lu Han's words, and while talking, she took off her coat and said softly, "It's really hot in your room." Lu Han glanced at the air conditioner in the corner and thought, "Can you still feel hot, even if it's set to 22 degrees? But soon he couldn't speak anymore because the clothes Yi Mei wore underneath were too tempting. The milky white undershirt is thin and see-through, fully displaying the beautiful curves of her upper body. The short skirt underneath just barely covers her buttocks, and her long, white, and straight breasts are completely exposed to the air, and the hair ties removed and spreads over her shoulders. Her wavy long hair shows the charm of a mature woman. Seeing Lu Han swallowing his saliva, Yi Mei couldn't help but feel proud in her heart. Although she was no longer a girl of 17 or 18 years old, she didn't have to do housework or worry about work these years. So at least half of her energy was spent on she focuses on maintaining her body. So she is extremely confident in her body. And Lu Han's current look is the best proof of her confidence. So she took a step forward proudly and whispered in Lu Han's ear in a teasing manner, "Director Lu, aren't you going to check if there is anything wrong with my body? Why don't you start yet?" Lu Han, who was already on the verge of collapse, was stimulated by this sentence. He directly hugged Yi Mei horizontally with both arms and walked into the lounge. The following plot is this week's episode. After a storm, Lu Han needed Yi Mei's plumpness with satisfaction and said casually, "Chen Li is in a really good body. If it were a man with a worse body, he would probably die on you in 2 years at most." Yi Mei hit him lightly and said, "Don't be so nagging. Tell me, how are you going to settle me? Or you go back and divorce Chen Li and then marry me?" Lu Han laughed. "Don't tease me. If you really wanted this, you wouldn't be waiting for me at this time. You know that's not what I want. Then, what do you want?" "Why ask? Of course it's money." Chapter 267. Stolen Sales. "How much money do you want?" Lu Han asked with interest. 100,000. Yi Mei hardened her heart and said a big number. Lu Han was shocked. 100,000? Do you think I can have so much money? Don't play dumb. Everyone knows that your monthly salary is 5 or 6,000. Besides, I didn't ask you to give me all the money at once. As long as you let me get the money within 2 years, I believe you will have a way. Yi Mei lightly hit Lu Han and said slowly. Lu Han thought about it for a while and then said, "How about this? You open a shell company in your name and I will purchase all the annual festivals and daily benefits of our factory from you in the future. The price can be a little higher than the market price, but the quality must be guaranteed for me. In this way, I estimate that you may be able to get this amount in 1 year." In fact, this idea was not Lu Han's. Fatty Cheng talked to him about this matter at the class reunion yesterday, but Lu Han did not agree because Fatty Cheng gave Lu Han a kickback, but he dared not accept this kind of money because once the boss found out, he would be dead. But Yi Mei was different. There was no financial exchange between them. Although there was a problem with the style of men and women, I thought that his boss, who was a playboy, would not care too much about his little follow-up point. After getting Luhan's promise, Yimei was very excited. In fact, when she said the number of 100,000 just now, she had no idea at all. She thought Luhan would bargain with her, and she even made the worst plan. That is, Luhan would just assign her a job in the factory and send her away. Unexpectedly, Luhan actually agreed to her. Although she didn't give her money directly, this method is safer, more obscure, and more difficult for others to find fault with, and she can also take advantage of the situation to taste the taste of being a strong woman. So in excitement, Yimei slid down the quilt directly and said in a charming voice, "Since you behave so well, I will let you enjoy it again." Then she opened her mouth and slowly swallowed it. While Luhan was busy enjoying himself, Shakru had already returned to New Delhi. This time he was away for a long time, so there was a backlog of work to deal with, so that he didn't even have passion at night. After finally dealing with all the affairs, Shakru planned to check each industry one by one to brush up his presence as a boss in Shakru's mind. His assistant Murthy has always been a good man, working diligently, conscientiously, and responsibly. In the past 4 or 5 years, he has never lost his temper, blushed or quarreled with anyone, whether it is a high caste official, a wealthy businessman or a low-level employee. However, today, when he accidentally passed by his office, he heard thunderous scolding from inside, which made Shakru very curious. So he pushed the door open and planned to see who could make such a good man so angry. However, he became even more curious as soon as he entered the door, because the young man who was being scolded by Murthy was actually his cousin. If he remembered correctly, it seemed that Murthy brought him in at the beginning, but he couldn't remember what the young man's name was. When Murthy saw Shakru coming in, he stood up and said respectfully, "Boss, do you have something to talk to me about? Just give me a call. Why do you come here in person?" Shakru shook his head and said, "I have nothing to do. I was just bored and walked around the hotel to see how the employees are working. By the way, Murthy, what happened to make you so angry? Even I heard you cursing outside." "Sorry, boss, my voice is too loud." Murthy apologized quickly. Shakru waved his hand and said, "It's okay. You know, I curse even louder when I lose my temper." This is your cousin. Is he angry with you?" "Yes, it's this stinky boy. He doesn't work hard in such a good job in the hotel. Instead, he doesn't learn well. He actually eats inside and hurts the reputation of the hotel. I'm really angry." Murthy kicked his cousin and said angrily. Shakru attached great importance to the reputation of his hotel, so he immediately became serious and asked in a cold voice, "Modi, what did he do to harm the reputation of the hotel? Tell me in detail." "Selling customer information, hearing this kind of thing." Shakru immediately got angry and slapped the guy in the face, cursing, "How dare you do such a thing? If any customer really gets into trouble because of you, do you think you can bear the consequences?" In fact, it is no wonder that Shakru got angry, because since the hotel became popular, it has almost become the most concentrated place for rich people in New Delhi. Especially VIP members are all wealthy and prestigious bigwigs. If the information of these people, such as contact information, home address, and hobbies, is leaked, it is definitely not a trivial matter. Moreover, there must be someone who is paying a high price for this information, so Murdy's cousin would sell it secretly. Otherwise, why would he be so bored and tinkering with this thing? And those who are willing to pay a high price for it naturally don't have any good ideas. If some big shot is kidnapped or blackmailed because of this information, then tracing back to the source, the person who leaked this information will definitely not end well, and the hotel's reputation will definitely be damaged. Seeing Shakru so angry, Modi quickly advised, "Boss, don't worry, he didn't succeed in this matter. I found him when he was secretly recording the information, so he didn't cause any losses to the hotel. And he didn't secretly record the information of VIP customers, but those guests who came to the hotel for ordinary accommodation. According to his account, an insurance company and a car dealer wanted to buy it, probably to increase customer channels, not those criminal gangs." Hearing this explanation, Shakru's anger subsided a little. In his previous life, He had worked as an accountant in an insurance company for more than a year. He knew very well how the customer lists of insurance companies, securities companies, and fund companies came from. At least half of them were bought in this way. After all, the premise of selling insurance to someone is to confirm that he has the financial strength. If he is a pauper, then it will be useless, even if you wear out your mouth. Now everyone knows why you receive so many harassing calls all day long, and how they know your phone number, right? Chapter 268 New Direction. Although he was a little less angry, Shakru still said to Murdy, your cousin must be well educated. Otherwise, if he dares to secretly record the information of ordinary guests and give it to the insurance company this time, he will dare to sell the information of VIP customers to the kidnapping group next time. It will be too late when that time comes. Don't let him stay in the hotel in the future. Arrange for him to work as a porter in the pharmaceutical factory. Murdy originally thought that Shakru would directly fire his cousin after learning about this, but he didn't expect that he would give him a way out and let him work in the pharmaceutical factory. Although the porter is a little tired, it is at least better than being idle. After all, this is in the factory, and there will be opportunities for him to be promoted in the future. So he said to Shakru gratefully, boss, don't worry, I will definitely educate him well. Unexpectedly, at this time, Murdy's cousin shouted, I don't want to be a porter. If you have the ability, fire me, and I don't think I'm doing this. Wrong. Those rich people deserve to die. If there is a kidnapping group that wants their information, I would rather give them all without paying. Murdy was sweating coldly after hearing this, and he quickly covered his cousin's mouth. But Shakru said with a smile, don't stop him, let him finish his words. I want to hear where you get so much anger from. That's right, I work hard for a month, but it's not enough to pay for 2 dishes in the box I serve. The tips people give to the ladies are higher than my salary. What's the point of doing such a job? If they are all like you, the boss, who do business honestly and earn money by their own ability, then I will accept it. But who are they? Either they are officials who make money by relying on their power, or they are gangsters who make money by cheating people. Which one is a good person? Why can they spend a lot of money every day, but I only make so little? Murdy's cousin scolded, young man, let me ask you first. The hotel pays you 3,000 rupees a month and also provides food and accommodation. Compared with the normal salary level in New Delhi, is this treatment low or high? Shakru asked calmly as much as possible. It's not low, it's even several hundred higher than other places. But what's the use? It's still the price of 2 dishes on the table. What does it have to do with you, whether a dish costs expensive or cheap? Not to mention 1,000 rupees a dish. Even if it's 10,000 rupees a dish, it's their own money, and it's earned by them. When you encounter this kind of thing, you should think about how to improve yourself, work hard, make money, and strive to achieve such a life as soon as possible, instead of complaining about the unfairness of the world. The world is inherently unfair. If everyone's life is the same, how can people have the motivation to move forward and the direction to strive? Yes, there are some people in this society who make money in an illegal way, but you can't always stare at these people. Why don't you pay attention to those who get rich through hard work and wisdom? No matter what kind of social system, there are good people and bad people, and there are bright and dark sides. The dark side. If you only see the dark side, then your future development will not be on the right track. You see, this time you stole and sold the company's information, which is not a good thing, right? Do you dare to guarantee that there are no good people in the information you secretly recorded? Do you dare to guarantee that the people who buy the information will definitely do good things? Seeing that the young man lowered his head because of what he said, Shakru waved his hand and said, okay, Murdy, you can handle your cousin's matter yourself. But remember to conduct a comprehensive investigation of employees in sensitive positions in hotels and pharmaceutical factories immediately to prevent similar incidents. In addition, find out which company dared to buy information from me. I must deal with them well. After a thorough investigation, many problems were actually found, which made Shakru sigh secretly. The more people he had under his command, the more things there were. Fortunately, the problems were not big. More importantly, the company was now a monopoly, so everyone was still very motivated. However, as a boss, you must have long-term considerations. Now Wolfgang has a global monopoly, but this monopoly can only last for 15 years. The patent is only 15 years, and now half of the time has passed. Although even if the patent ends, Wolfgang can still make good profits with its good reputation. It is definitely not comparable to now, so you must find a way to create a new profit. Just when Shakru was worried about the new industry direction, a football match he watched by chance gave him a very good idea. This English League One match between Fulham and Crystal Palace itself did not have any highlights, and it could even be said that it was a very dull game. But when the camera accidentally swept to the audience, Shakru's heart moved, because the camera swept none other than Fulham's big boss Mohammed Fade. Fade is an Egyptian tycoon, but he lives in London all year round. The extremely famous Harrods department store in London is one of his industries. His son Dodi is the last lover of Princess Diana. The two died together in a car accident in Paris. However, it was not these things that inspired Shaka, but the fact that he bought Fulham, a well-established British club, for £32 million last year, in 1997. His slogan was to turn Fulham into the Manchester United of Southern England within 5 years. Of course, his wish was not realised later. Although Fulham returned to the Premier League in 2001, its performance has been unsatisfactory, and it has always been struggling in the relegation zone. Although Shaka likes to watch football and has some money, he does not have the ambition to create a new Manchester United. He values the money prospects of the Premier League. That's right, after the Russian tycoon Abramovich acquired Chelsea and entered the Premier League, the value of Premier League players has doubled. So if you buy a Premier League club at this time, it is definitely a business that can only make money and not lose money. Moreover, he has nearly 20 years of experience ahead of time. He can buy a group of young players who are not yet famous at a low price. When he wrestles them, he will make 10 or 20 million pounds, which is much faster than doing other things. P.S. The inspiration for this short story comes from a post by Long Kong about a young man who many of us tried to persuade for a long time, but still felt that there was no meaning in striving, and gave up on his own. Chapter 269 Coventry. Boss, there is an Indian named Shakru Pandit who wants to see you. Brian Richardson just walked into the office that day, and the secretary reported to him. Richardson frowned and muttered to himself, the Indian named Shakru Pandit, why does this name sound so familiar? The secretary reminded him, it's the famous Indian tycoon, the owner of Ganges Pharmaceuticals. Oh, it turns out to be the Indian who does Viagra. Why does it sound so familiar? But why did he come to see me? Richardson suddenly realized. The secretary shook his head and said, I don't know about this. He just said he has something important to talk to you about. But with his status, he can come to Coventry in person, so it must be something important. Well, what you said makes sense. Then please let him in. Richardson nodded and said. A few minutes later, Shakru followed the secretary in. After the two exchanged pleasantries for a while, Richardson asked impatiently, Mr. Pandit, you said you wanted to talk to me about something important. What is it? I feel like it's hard for us to have business dealings. How could there be nothing? I want to buy something from you. Shakru said with a mysterious smile. Richardson asked in confusion. Is it that Mr. Pandit's thing that you want to buy is only sold here? Shakru nodded and said, yes, I can only buy this thing from you in the world. That is Coventry Football Club. What? Did I hear it right? You said you want to buy Coventry Club? Richardson was so shocked that he stood up. Yes, you heard it right. What I want to buy is Coventry Club. Shakru said lightly. Richardson waved his hands and said, Mr. Pandit, I don't think your joke is funny at all. Who told you that I want to sell Coventry? You know, our team is in the best momentum right now. We have the best young coach in England and have just set a record of 13 consecutive unbeaten games. In this case, how could I sell him? Facing Richardson, who was so excited that he almost roared, Shakru still said slowly, yes, what you said is correct. But even so, it can't cover up the embarrassment of Coventry Club's current debt. As far as I know, Coventry's debt is at least £60 million. And Mr. Richardson, you also have more than 20 million debts in other areas, so I'm really curious about how you will alleviate this debt of nearly £100 million. That's my business, you don't need to worry about it. Anyway, I will never sell Coventry. Richardson was still very excited. Mr. Richardson, please don't be like this. You and I are both businessmen. Since you no longer have the ability to bear this debt, why should you refuse when someone wants to take over and transfer the pressure on you? Well, I think your state today is not suitable for continuing the conversation. Then, when you are calm, you can think about my proposal carefully. If you change your mind, you are welcome to come to me at any time. After saying that, Shakru said goodbye and left. After Shakru left, Richardson said angrily to his secretary, "Do you know what the Indian said to me just now? He actually wants to buy Coventry. This is simply a fantasy." "What is Coventry?" "It is all my dreams and persistence." Unexpectedly, a loyal and conscientious secretary said, "Boss, I think the Indian's proposal is actually quite good. You can consider it." "What did you say? Are you also suggesting that I sell Coventry?" Richardson said in disbelief. The secretary nodded. "Yes, the club's financial situation is really bad now, with a debt of £60 million. We have no way to solve this problem. No one was willing to take over before, so we could only maintain it. Now that someone wants to buy it, why don't we sell it? In this way, not only can we transfer the debt of £60 million, but we can also have startup funds to enter the most profitable real estate industry. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone?" This last sentence touched Richardson. In fact, he has been eyeing the real estate industry for a long time, but he just doesn't have enough funds to start. However, he is still a little worried. This is £60 million. Can that Indian come up with so much money? "Boss, have you forgotten what business he is in? His Viagra is a global monopoly. Do you think the business of this kind of medicine can be bad?" The secretary analyzed. "Well, that's right. Almost all men can't live without this thing. It would be a miracle if this business didn't make money. But why did he buy Coventry City out of boredom? We don't know about that. Maybe he wants to build a new Manchester United like Fade in Egypt." Richardson said disdainfully, "What a joke. Which wealthy team can be built by just spending money?" Of course, Abramovich hadn't come when he said this. In fact, there are two reasons why Shaka values Coventry. First, it is a Premier League team. Shaka is too lazy to take Fulham from the English League 2 to the top like Fade. He is here to make money, but he doesn't have so much time. Second, Coventry is in debt. As long as he expresses his willingness to take over all the debts, Richardson will not be tempted. Facts have proved that Shaka's guess is correct. A few days later, Richardson contacted Shaka through his secretary. Although he agreed to sell Coventry this time, his offer was a lion's mouth. Not only did he require Shaka to fully assume Coventry's debt of £60 million, but he also had to pay an additional £30 million for the purchase price. For this unreasonable request, Shaka refused without even thinking about it, and then fought back against Richardson with practical actions. In fact, what he did was very simple, that is, to meet and have dinner with the presidents of Southampton and other teams that were also at the bottom of the Premier League and in debt. Feeling the pressure of competition, Richardson had no choice but to agree to Shaka's request and sold Coventry Football Club to him for £10 million. However, this transaction is destined to cause earth-shaking shock in the entire football world. Chapter 270 Buying People. Although Egyptian businessman Fade bought Fulham in 1997, Fulham was only a second-tier club at that time. Fade lived in London all year round, and his Harrods department store was already accepted by the British, so his acquisition of Fulham did not cause any shock. But Shaka was different. The British did not know him at all, and the arrogant and xenophobic British did not believe that an Indian from a football desert could lead a Premier League team. The only company that had confidence in Shaka was William Company in the UK, because they knew Shaka's predictive ability in this regard too well. So after learning that Coventry City had changed hands with him, they immediately reduced the odds of Coventry City's relegation next season by 3 percentage points. Shaka didn't take these disturbances from the outside world to heart. At this moment, He was talking to the team's head coach Gordon Strachan. Speaking of this head coach who won the title of England's best young coach of the year, his head coach experience was quite interesting. He had been the team's assistant coach until November 1996, when Ron Atkinson, this guy, had to bear more than half of the responsibility for Coventry's financial crisis. He spent £50 million when he was in office, but he didn't achieve much, was fired. He temporarily served as the head coach, but he defeated Tottenham Hotspur in the last round and successfully avoided relegation point in the season that just ended. He led the team to successfully win the relegation battle, so now his prestige in the team is very high, and he is a very good tinker, very good at using the existing cards in his hand to win, but very few successful records in transfers, which is exactly complementary to Xhaka's expertise. So Xhaka's first step is to keep him. Originally, Shakru thought it would be a very troublesome thing to keep him, but unexpectedly, just by increasing his salary and confirming that the next head coach position would still be his, Strachan agreed to stay in Coventry. Later, Shakru learned that it was not that Strachan did not want to leave, but that no team wanted him, or more precisely, no other Premier League team wanted him. Because although he won the England's best young coach of the year, his qualifications were too shallow, and he only had relegation experience, so no Premier League team extended an olive branch to him. There were several teams in the English League One that were interested in him, but he did not want to go. The Premier League coach and the English League One coach were completely different levels. Another reason was that Strachan felt that, although the club had a new owner, the main lineup had hardly changed, so there should be no problem with relegation this season. After all, the task given by the new owner was relegation. When a new owner takes over a team, the most common way to please the fans of the home team is to buy strong players, increase the strength of the team, and give fans hope that the team's performance will improve this season. After the new owner Xhaka took office, although he also bought several players, his moves made many people feel puzzled and even felt that he was too stingy, because none of the players he bought were big name players, but young players and abandoned players from other teams. Xhaka first needs to strengthen the team's offensive power. Although the veteran Gary McAllister in the team is playing quite stably, he is after all a veteran over 35 years old. His physical strength cannot be maintained for a season, and his technical characteristics are too single. Xhaka needs a strong striker with comprehensive skills. In fact, Viri is the one that best meets Xhaka's expectations, but the problem is that he can't afford it, so he has to settle for the second best and set his sights on Australian striker Mark Viduka, who is currently not doing well in the Scottish Premier League giants Celtic. The Australian striker has a very comprehensive quality. With a height of 1.88 meters, he can not only use his body and height to score points, but also has a strong advantage in the air. What's more valuable is that his footwork is not bad, and he has a strong ability to protect the ball and create opportunities for his teammates. In the 3 years before, he scored more than 50 goals in the league in the Croatian powerhouse Zagreb, now Dinamo Zagreb, helping Dinamo Zagreb win the domestic league championship and cup championship 3 times, and also performed well in the European war. However, since the introduction of Viduka was the personal idea of Croatian President Tudjman, the head coach was not consulted. Once Viduka was in poor condition, the fans would grab his relatives' braids, and sometimes he even became a target of political struggle. At that time, life in Croatia, which had not yet completely emerged from the shadow of war, also made Viduka often worried. The fans' attacks and psychological pressure made it difficult for Viduka to go out for dinner. Even after he transferred to the Scottish Premier League giants Celtic, he was troubled by psychological problems for a while, and left the club without playing a game. With such a psychological state and the presence of Sweden's top scorer Henrik Larsson in the team, it is easy to imagine how Viduka spent his days in Celtic. But in fact, after Larsson was seriously injured and broke his leg in the new season, Viduka was forced to take on the offensive burden of the team. He recovered and scored 27 league goals in a season, becoming the top scorer in the Scottish Premier League. Therefore, Xhaka felt that this was the best opportunity to buy Viduka. Celtic didn't value him, he didn't have a chance to play, and he himself was not happy in the team. Although Coventry was not as famous as Celtic, it was a Premier League team after all, and it was at least a level higher than the Scottish Premier League. So in the end, Shakru easily bought him with a transfer fee of £2.8 million. You know, Celtic spent £6 million to take him away from Croatia. After solving the problem of strikers, the next step is midfield. In this position, Shakru needs a commander role. This time his choice is more bold. He directly offered to the famous Barcelona to buy Mikel Arteta, a young player who had just entered the Barcelona B team. Speaking of Arteta, this player is very interesting. He is a product of Barcelona's youth training camp, but his style of play is not suitable for La Liga at all. On the contrary, he is like a fish in water in the rough Premier League. This can be seen from his performance in the Spanish Real Sociedad and Everton. PS. Please rest assured that this is not a football competition article, so there will be very few plots about football matches and transfers. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 Kelly Brook. Shakru's idea is very good. He plans to bring Arteta directly to the Premier League, saving him the trial and excessive journey in La Liga, and directly displaying his talents. However, neither Barcelona nor Arteta himself has any plans. Favoring the small Coventry city, they directly rejected Shakru's offer, but they did leave one alive. That is, he could be loaned out. But Shakru disagrees with the loan. If the ownership of the midfield commander is not in his own hands, it would be too insecure to use it. But what gives Shakru a headache is that the candidate for this position is very poor. Look, the already famous stars simply can't afford it. The ones who haven't become famous yet are either too young, such as Van der Vaart and Cesc Fabregas, who are just 15 or 16 years old and are simply useless, or the wealthy teams are doing it. The main players are trained, such as Pirlo. Fortunately, Coventry's current requirements are not that high, so Shakru once again took the next best option and went to Banfield in Mexico to buy Mauro Camoranesi. In fact, Camoranesi's most suitable position is on the wing. His awareness of dribbling and passing is very good, and he has won the assists title several times. However, in fact, he can still play as an attacking midfielder, so Shakru plans to use him to deal with it for the time being, and then let him return to the wing after finding a suitable attacking midfielder for the defender position. Fabio Grosso was bought from Chieti in Italy. Yes, it was the same Grosso who made Huang Jiangxiang crazy. Penalty. 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 Grosso made a contribution. La. Grosso has made a contribution. Don't give the Australians any chance. The great Italian left back has inherited the glorious tradition of Italian football. Facchetti, Cabrini and Maldini are possessed by their souls at this moment. At this moment, he is not fighting alone. He is not alone. The right back is the Frenchman Chimbanda, who has excellent dribbling skills and impact, bought from Le Havre in Ligue 1, and the goalkeeper is a tall, strong-armed player bought from Cruzeiro in Brazil. Long, quick to react, strong in determination, with excellent positioning and fighting skills. Nelson Dida is AC Milan's future main goalkeeper. Although people didn't buy less, they didn't actually spend much money. In fact, this was Shakru deliberately controlling himself and not buying all the children in the 11th, 12th, 14th, and 5th years. Otherwise he would at least want to buy more. 20 or 30 people will catch all the future masters in one fell swoop. But fortunately, he still has sense and knows that there is no benefit in trying to force the seedlings to grow. It is more appropriate to wait until they are almost grown before taking action. Although Shakru doesn't care about the British media's doubts about himself, he has been very low-key recently. Even when watching his team's first game of the new season, he wore a black hat and sat in a corner of the auditorium. To watch the game, he could actually choose a box, but he felt it would be more enjoyable to watch the game in the auditorium. Interestingly, he discovered that he was not the only one at the scene who was dressed like this. A woman sitting next to him was also dressed like an agent wearing a black hat and a black hat. She was also focused on watching the game and rarely spoke. It wasn't until Viduka relied on his strong body to resist the opponent's defender and scored with a powerful shot that he finally couldn't help but stand up and cheer. He first praised Viduka, and then to Shakru's surprise, he praised him. It seems that this Indian's vision is still very good. The new ones are doing well. Shakru couldn't help but added, "This is the first time I heard good words about this Indian in the UK. Huh. Your accent sounds weird. It sounds a bit Indian." "Oh my god, you are not Indian, are you?" the girl exclaimed. "Does my accent sound weird? I always thought that my English was very authentic, a standard London accent." Speaking of this, Shakru couldn't help but think of the Tang Ning-like London accent of Mrs. Zaolerang in her previous life, so she couldn't help but laughed. Everyone thinks that their accent is the most authentic, but in fact it is not. But even if you are Indian, there is no need to wrap yourself up so tightly, the girl said in confusion, and then seemed to suddenly think of something. Suddenly realized, "Oh my god, you can't be Coventry's new Indian boss, Mr. Shakru Pandit." Shakru smiled bitterly and said, "Beautiful lady, didn't anyone tell you that a beautiful girl doesn't need such a smart brain?" The girl accepted it happily and said, "Thank you for your compliment, but don't worry, if the games this season are as smooth and beautiful as today, then at least in Coventry, many people will say good things about you." "Thank you, I hope so." Shakru thanked him first, and then asked, "Since you already know my identity, can I take the liberty of asking for your name?" "Me? I'm just an unknown little person. You wouldn't know it if I told you." The girl shied away. Shakru pointed at her airtight equipment and teased, "Does an unknown little person need to arm himself like this?" The girl turned sideways in desperation, took off her hat and glasses and asked angrily, "Do you know who I'm now?" "You really look familiar. I definitely know you, but I was just confused for a moment." Shakru frowned and thought hard. The girl snorted disdainfully and said, "Humph, stop pretending. You may not even know me, but..." At this moment, Shakru exclaimed, "Ah, I remember. You are Kelly Brook, right?" In fact, Shakru wanted to say that you hosted Britain's Got Talent, but as soon as the word came to his lips, he immediately realized that it was not the right time yet, so he swallowed them back. "Oh my god, you really know me. But how do you know me? Do you often go to fashion shows?" Kelly exclaimed with her mouth covered. In fact, it is no wonder that she was so surprised, because at this time Kelly Brook had just received boxing training from Johnson, a famous bodybuilding mentor, and successfully lost weight and joined the modeling industry. She was not famous at all. The reason why she came to watch the game this time was that she was so heavily armed that she was afraid that the live broadcast camera would scan her and Johnson would find out that she sneaked out to watch the game. P.S. Don't worry, the protagonist is definitely not Kelly, because at this time she is dating Jason Stein, but to get to know another beauty through her. Chapter 272 Miranda Care. In response to Kelly's question, Shaka had no choice but to answer, "Yes, I often watch fashion shows. Miss World Champion Aishwarya is my artist, and I often take her to various fashion weeks." Then he changed the subject and said, "By the way, why did you come to watch Coventry's game?" "Because I was born in Coventry. My whole family are Coventry fans, so of course I have to come to watch the first game of the new season." Kelly answered as if it was a matter of course. Shaka thought this answer was normal. It's no wonder that the Premier League can develop into the world's top league. Their football culture has developed so well. Many local teams have this kind of family style fans. That is, the father and a mother are fans of a team for generations. No matter how good the team's performance is, or what level of league they are in, they are loyal and never give up. By the way, why did you choose to buy Coventry? Kelly asked back. The reason is very simple, because I want to buy a Premier League team, and the only team I can afford and buy is Coventry, which is in debt crisis, so I bought it. So, will you be disappointed? Shakru said with a smile. Kelly sighed and said, "Oh, it's disappointing, but I think Coventry will get better and better in your hands. Don't worry, it will get better and better." Shakru answered confidently. Facts have proved that Shakru's confidence is not unreasonable. Coventry has made a dream start in the new season, winning 3 games and taking 9 points. For a while, the media's doubts have been reduced a lot, but some people say that this is because Coventry has encountered weak teams. If it encounters strong teams like Manchester United and Arsenal, it will be exposed. But what they don't know is that Shakru's goal is to become a mid-level Premier League team. He has never thought about fighting with those strong teams, so he only needs to take 3 points from the teams that are also popular in the relegation zone. Seeing that the start was relatively stable, Shaka planned to return to New Delhi, but at this time Kelly called him and said that she wanted to introduce a friend to him. Shaka thought it would be her secret boyfriend Jason Statham, but after arriving at the hotel, he found that it was a girl and a supermodel he was very familiar with. In fact, Shaka knew only a handful of supermodels in his previous life, but this beauty left a very deep impression on him, because in the era of cone-shaped faces, there are really too few actresses with round faces like her. She is the Victoria's Secret Angel supermodel Miranda Kerr. She was seen wearing a white two-piece suit today, with a thin coat on the outside and a jumpsuit inside, with sky blue flowers dotted on it, which looked very fresh. She only had light makeup on her face as a courtesy. Her copper brown long hair was combed back into a ponytail, and the hair on the top of her head was slightly loosened, making her skin look more rosy and moving, revealing a heroic temperament. This completely different style made Shaka, who was used to seeing European and American actresses, brighten her eyes. Of course, Kerr was not particularly famous at that time, but compared to Kelly Kerr at that time, she was somewhat famous, because she won the championship in the national model selection competition held by CoverGirl magazine at the age of 13, and then began her modeling career. After signing with Victoria's Secret, she became one of the world's supermodels. Of course, more people knew her because of her relationship with Zyoli. However, Kelly obviously didn't know the reason for Shaka's surprised expression. She just thought that he was shocked by Miranda Kerr's appearance, so she said proudly, "Well, I said I would give you a surprise. How about it? Kerr is beautiful, beautiful, too beautiful, definitely a natural supermodel." Shaka exclaimed from the bottom of his heart, "Thank you for your compliment, Mr. Pandit." Miranda thanked modestly. After the three of them talked about food and football for a while, Shakru took the opportunity when Miranda went to the bathroom to ask Brooke, "Kelly, why did you suddenly think of introducing a beauty to me today?" Kelly did not answer but asked, "Tell me first, is Kerr beautiful? Is she sexy?" Shakru nodded and said, "This is natural. Of course, she is still a little worse than our Kelly." Kelly waved her hand and said, okay, you can't fool me. You know I have a boyfriend. Let's talk about business. Do you want to have this beautiful woman?" "I definitely want to, but I don't know if I can afford the price," Shakru said lightly. He knew that if there was no trouble to be solved, Brooke would never ask him. "You can definitely afford it, otherwise why would she find you?" Kerr wants to perform well at this year's New York Fashion Week, but there is no one behind her to support her, so she wants to find a capable man to support her. "It happened that I met you some time ago, so she wanted me to ask you if you are willing." Kelly talked freely. Upon hearing this request, Shaka was relieved. He originally thought it was a problem, but it turned out to be just a matter of spending money. To be honest, for Shaka now, as long as the problem can be solved by spending money, then it is not a problem. However, he still asked, "It depends on how much she needs me to support her." The ultimate goal is naturally to become a Miss World champion like Aishwarya under your company. Kelly answered mischievously, "You think too highly of me. This kind of honor can't be obtained by just spending money." Shakru waved his hand and said, "It's just a joke. Why are you so serious?" In fact, Kelly just wants a noble man who can support her modeling career. She is not greedy. Kelly explained quickly. Shakru thought for a while, and then said, "If it's just like this, then I can give her a surprise." "What? Surprise?" Kelly asked. "How about the cover of Vogue?" Shakru said lightly, "Oh my god, Mr. Pandit, are you serious?" Kelly exclaimed. Shaka nodded and replied proudly, "Of course I'm serious. I have a very good personal relationship with Anna Wintour of Vogue. She has been inviting me to do an interview." It's just that I have been busy recently, so I don't have time. I just don't know if Miss Care will be interested in this opportunity. This is not Shaka bragging. In fact, Winter has invited him to do a personal album many times. Therefore, he thinks that if he is willing to ask Winter, then she should give him face. After all, Miranda's conditions are not bad. Before Kelly answered, Shaka heard a sweet and excited voice from behind. Interested? Of course interested. Thank you so much, Mr. Pandit. Chapter 273 Langfan. There are many celebrities who come to New York Fashion Week every year. For these celebrities, watching the show is secondary, and the main purpose is to get endorsements after gilding themselves. After all, acting and singing are only a small part of the income of female celebrities. More of their income often comes from advertising and endorsements. Participating in the 4 major fashion weeks can increase their exposure, make them closer to internationalization, and link them with the symbol of fashion, so as to enhance their soft power in endorsements, thereby obtaining higher end and more lucrative endorsement opportunities, and even their film pay can rise. However, behind the swarm of stars, the treatment varies greatly. There are very few stars who can be invited to watch the show by brand public relations or designers themselves, and often only those old and real big brands have this treatment. More often, the star's agency spends money to participate, or the star himself pays for the show to attract attention. Some less famous ones can only walk around outside the show, which is called street shooting. On this day, Miranda Kerr was about to change clothes and rest when she heard someone knocking on the door. The assistant opened the door and saw a middle-aged woman in a business suit standing outside the door. Excuse me, is this Miss Kerr's room? Yes, you are. The assistant was a little confused about the situation, and the agent behind him also came over. Sorry, excuse me. The middle-aged woman walked into the room. Behind her, a whole team of men and women in neat uniforms walked into the room one by one with bags covered in envelopes in their hands, and stood in 2 rows in order, immediately filling the room. This was not because Miranda wanted to save money, but because the rooms in major hotels during the fashion week were too tight, and only ordinary luxury rooms could be booked. Wait a minute, what are you doing? The 3 people in the room were a little stunned by the scene. Kerr stared at these well-trained employees and asked the middle-aged woman who came in first, "Hello, ma'am. I'm Gretchen Horn, the manager of Lanvin's New York flagship store. According to Mr. Pandit's request, we have selected some top-notch evening gowns for you to choose from, based on Ms. Kerr's figure for today's photo shoot. They are all carefully designed and made by the best designers." The middle-aged woman explained with a professional smile. This company, founded by Jean Lanvin in 1889, is the oldest high-end fashion brand in France. After being acquired by Taiwanese billionaire Wang Xiaolin, it has regained its vitality. Since 2010, it has opened several stores in New York. The evening gowns it designed have been praised by the industry as the most spiritual. Lisi and her friends are certainly not unfamiliar with such brands, but they don't have such a high status to be able to be asterisk by such a big brand. Because Pandit's company had something urgent to do, Miranda Kerr rushed to New York first. This time, when she heard that it was arranged by Shaka, she was relieved. Gretchen Horn saw Kerr's relaxed look, so he asked, "Miss Kerr, shall we start choosing now?" After getting Miranda's permission, Gretchen Horn waved his hand, and everyone carefully opened the envelopes in their hands and held up the exquisitely designed evening dresses one by one. Each one was unique in style and had its own merits, which was simply dazzling. Since we don't know Miss Kerr's exact size, we have tried to make as many choices as possible, which should be able to meet your needs. If you are not satisfied, we can mobilize 20 more sets within half an hour. Gretchen Horn ordered his subordinates to carefully open the dresses in an orderly manner, so as to better show Miranda Kerr for easy selection, and further explained, "Thank you very much." Miranda responded politely. Even with her eyes, she could see that these dresses were first class in design, tailoring and workmanship, and were definitely not ordinary store goods. Before the dresses were selected, someone knocked on the door again. The people who came in this time were stylists and makeup artists. 2 groups of 4 people. You don't need to ask to know that they are very professional top stylists. They seem to know Gretchen and greet each other with smiles. The assistant Miranda brought with her also learned Makup. Usually, she not only helps her arrange her daily life, but also takes care of basic Makup and styling. However, in front of these 4 stylists and Makup artists with strong aura, she can only stand aside aggrieved. They are very polite and say that they will jointly study and determine the styling, but after a few words, the assistant consciously stopped talking and simply saved trouble, observing carefully with a learning attitude. Everything has been arranged, and the agent Linda doesn't have to worry about it. She simply watched with a smile on her face and whispered to the assistant from time to time, "Sister Linda, this is too big. You can find so many people to help Sister Care with styling during the fashion week." The assistant was amazed. "That's not right. This is a huge investment. He is rich, considerate, and well planned. Anyone would be defeated. I think this time it's in jeopardy." Linda, the agent, looked like she was watching a show, whispering just loud enough for Miranda to hear, and then she smiled at her. In fact, Miranda was very satisfied and proud now. When she first learned that Shakru was 2 days late, she thought he was not interested in her at all and was just looking for an excuse, but now it seems that he is not only interested in her, but also really wants to support her. Just looking at today's scene, it shows his sincerity. Speaking of which, Mr. Pandit has a good figure, is handsome, elegant, and is a super rich man. He is simply the perfect lover in a woman's dream. The assistant's eyes almost turned into a heart shape as she spoke. "That's right. He probably has no shortcomings, except being a playboy. But you are not going to be one of them. Wipe your saliva." The agent patted her head, awakening the little girl from her endless imagination and beautiful dreams. "Sister Linda, how do you know he is a playboy?" The assistant covered her head, feeling aggrieved and puzzled. "Nonsense. There are only a few men with such good conditions. He can no longer be described as a golden bachelor. He is simply a diamond bachelor, and he is at the VVS 1 level. If I were him, I would be able to charm everyone wherever I go. It would be a waste if I wasn't a playboy. It would be a waste of talent." Linda crossed her arms and talked endlessly, completely not looking like a professional agent. Even though they were talking quickly and quietly, Miranda couldn't listen anymore. "Sister Linda, where is your demeanor as a professional agent? Aren't you usually the most opposed to me having scandals and getting involved in gossip?" Chapter 274 Filming. "Miss, do you know that it's a scandal? You're stupid if you don't catch someone you really trust." Lisi's words were still sharp, but there was a hint of sincerity between the lines. How many years are the most beautiful years of a woman's life? She has to find a destination after all. Do we really have to wait until we are old to think about it? This is for your own good, sister. She has almost watched Miranda grow up, so the deep relationship is far from the relationship between an ordinary star and an agent. It is more like the relationship between sisters, and she sincerely hopes that her sister can be happy. Miranda also understood Linda's character and knew that she was a typical sharp-tongued person with a sharp mouth and a soft heart. She could only keep silent while being moved in her heart. Just at this moment, Miranda's phone rang. It was inconvenient for her to do the styling. The assistant helped her pick it up and take a look. She exclaimed with an R and said with some excitement, "Sister Kara, look here. It's Mr. Pandit calling. You're hopeless. Why are you panicking?" Linda grabbed the phone and connected it. "Hello, Mr. Pandit? Yes, Kara. She is doing some styling, and it's not convenient to answer the phone. Thank you for your arrangement. Can we go too?" "That's great. Very soon. Very soon. It won't take more than half an hour." More than half an hour later, Shakru drove to pick up Miranda Care. Everyone arrived at the headquarters. As soon as they arrived in the lobby, the old winter came out and complained, "Mr. Pandit, it's not easy to invite you to come. If it's not today, if Miss Care was here, I don't know if you would come." Although it was only 2 short sentences, they showed the old winter's communication skills, and these 2 sentences both praised Shak. Louis indirectly praised Kara, and finally complained without being harsh or soft. Although Shakru clearly knew that Winter Senior was complaining, he had nothing to do. First, Winter Senior was old, and secondly, he had been invited several times, and he had always declined. so he could only smile awkwardly and said, "I've been busy lately, haven't I? I haven't even been home much during this period. I've been running back and forth between China and the UK. By the way, do you know Kayla?" Of course I do. The 13-year-old beauty pageant champion should be recognized by everyone in the circle, especially now that she has been here for a few years and has matured a lot and is more attractive. Winter Senior praised. Shakru said along the way, "Then I wonder if there is a chance to be on the cover. You do what you promised me first, and I will do what I promised you." The reason why the old Winter insisted on using Shakru had no other meaning. She really felt that Shakru very consistent with the standard. If we only talk about handsome appearance and perfect figure, then such a male model you can catch a lot of them. But there are very few people who have the temperament of a successful person like Shakru, because this kind of temperament cannot be cultivated at all. Only people who have a smooth career and have been in high positions for a long time can gradually become successful. You are born with this kind of temperament that others cannot learn, even if they want to. Of course, there are actually many men with successful careers in Winter, but at the same time, the only one who is satisfied with being young and handsome is Shakru, so she attaches great importance to Shakru. Originally, Shakru thought that taking a few photos was a simple matter, and at most it would take time to change clothes. However, when he actually started taking pictures, he discovered that this thing was extremely troublesome. Not to mention anything else, just the first step of putting on makeup was a struggle for him, and then he had to change clothes, pose, and walk through scenes over and over again. Anyway, after the filming, he felt as if his body no longer belonged to him. Even so, Care was still persuading him, "Mr. Pandit, this is the easiest for you. Sir Winter wants this temperament in you, so he has tried to impose the least restrictions on you. Basically, you are maintaining your true character. If it were us doing the filming, it would be much more difficult." Oh, that's it. It seems like I'm not satisfied anymore. In fact, I always thought that being a model was quite easy. You could become famous and make money just by posing and walking around. But now it seems that the money is not good either. "Make money," Shakru said with emotion. Care sighed and said, "Of course, don't look at the fame and fortune of those top supermodels, but you have to know how many girls are working as models in the world. There may not be 1 out of 10,000 people who can stand out. Don't say besides, this cover opportunity is enough to make many girls crazy about it." "Oh, really? But I don't seem to see your madness," Shakru said with meaning. Kenna gently took half a step forward, leaned on Shakru's shoulder, and said softly, "Don't worry, I will let you see my craziness tonight." Unexpectedly, Shakru waved his hands repeatedly and said, forget it, I can't be crazy today. There is no uncomfortable part in my body. I won't do it if I don't take a good rest for a few days. I'll wait until you finish shooting. Let's have a good time." If the other women in Shakru knew that the romantic boss also had a day when he was free from fighting, they would definitely laugh. But Shakru was really exhausted today. Fortunately, Shakru's hard work was not in vain. During Care's filming, the old Winter came to find him and said mysteriously, "Shakru, there is a good opportunity now. I don't know if you want to let it go. Let your little baby go." "What? Opportunity? Why does it sound like there is a big price to pay?" Shakru said with some vigilance. "It's nothing. For ordinary models, such an opportunity is what they want, but for a sponsor like you, they may not agree." Old Winter said lightly, "What is it? Have you heard of the brand Victoria's Secret?" Shakru nodded and said, "Of course I have heard of it. It should be the most famous and sexy female underwear brand in the world." Shakru said this very naturally, because in the previous life, even people who didn't know much about the world of time would know the name of Victoria's Secret Angels, and Victoria's Secret refers to Victoria's Secret RSR, which is affiliated with the well-known American mid to high-end clothing manufacturer S Group. Sexy is the synonym of RSR. She is elegant, exuding irresistible charm in the fields of cosmetics. In the United States, more than 1,000 branches are selling RSR sexy underwear endorsed by supermodels. To be continued. Chapter 275 Victoria 039's Secret. However, in 1998, Victoria's Secret had not yet reached the heights of later generations. So Winter was a little surprised that Shakru was so familiar with Victoria's Secret, so he joked, "He is indeed a famous playboy. So much for women's things answer." Then he changed the topic and said, "Since the year before last, Victoria's Secret has held a fashion show every year. This year's scale is particularly large, so the current number of models is a bit insufficient. I can help you recommend Miranda. I'm afraid you won't be able to let your little baby do the underwear show." Shakru breathed a sigh of relief and said, "I thought it was a big deal. What's the point of not giving up? Model catwalks are their job. And it's not easy to encounter a big brand like Victoria's Secret. If you can sign a contract, if so, then Miranda probably won't need my support in the future. Then you're not afraid that she will escape your control after she becomes famous?" Old Winter asked playfully. Shakru thought for a moment and then replied, "If it were in the first few years, I might have been worried like this. But now it is no longer the case. I hope that every woman who has been with me can have a good relationship. Of course, I can support them for a lifetime. But if you have your own career, you will live a more fulfilling life, and I don't like the kind of us that only depends on others." The Old Winter lamented, "No successful man will have only one woman, but there are too few who think like you. But this time you can rest assured that your little baby is just a supporting role. Daniela Pestova, Letitia Castor, Heidi Klum and Tyra Banks are the stars of this show. But if you want to compliment your little one, I can help her get a 200-piece. Thousands of dollars of equipment. Victoria's Secret is indeed a big brand, and I'm willing to spend $2 million in jewelry." Shakru said self-righteously, "Who told you that this $2 million is jewelry? I'm talking about underwear." Old Winter rolled his eyes at Shakru. Shakru was surprised. "What? Underwear worth $2 million? Did I hear that right? The underwear only has a few pieces of cloth, and you dare to sell it for $2 million? In fact, this is because Shakru doesn't know enough about Victoria's Secret. In 2003, Victoria's Secret also released a gemstone underwear priced as high as $10 million. So this $2 million underwear is nothing. I was praising you for your discernment just now. Why are you suddenly shocked now? I tell you that these $2 million are cheap. Daniela and the others are wearing a set of $2.5 million. But these underwear, it's not for sale at all. To be precise, Victoria's Secret doesn't expect to sell many. This piece is purely for publicity. Sometimes women have very strange thoughts and like to take a look, even if they can't afford it. Therefore, it can increase sales of other priced underwear and enhance the brand's popularity. Of course, occasionally we can also sell a few pieces." Old Winter explained slowly. Shakru suddenly understood and said, "Oh, it turns out it was just a cover. Let me tell you, how many people can buy such an expensive thing? As long as you understand, then this matter is settled. I will contact you right away." "Well, the principal doesn't know about this yet. Wouldn't it be good if we just settled on it?" Old Winter replied nonchalantly. What else does she need to ask? Which woman can refuse the temptation of Victoria's Secret? Facts have proved that Old Winter's words were right. When Miranda learned that she could participate in the Victoria's Secret fashion show and was eligible to wear underwear worth $2 million on the catwalk, she couldn't help but hold Shaq in her arms. Lou asked excitedly, "Boss, are you telling the truth? Are you lying to me? This is not the Miss World beauty pageant, and the appearance fee is not high. There is no need for me to lie to you." Shakru replied without knowing why. "It doesn't matter how much money you have, I'm willing to do it, even if you don't give me any money. Boss, you know, one of my dreams is to have a set of Victoria's Secret angel underwear. Although I can't afford it now, I'm finally qualified to wear it myself. And I can wear it on the catwalk. My god. This is just a dream. I get excited just thinking about it." Miranda hugged Shakru tightly and murmured. Shakru asked with some confusion, "As for what? No matter how expensive it is, it's just a set of underwear. Anyway, I don't think it's worth the price at all." Miranda shook her head and explained, "Boss, you are not a woman, and you don't understand how tempting Victoria's Secret angel underwear is to women. For women, it is synonymous with mystery, luxury, charm, and pampering. It represents not only is it time, it is also an attitude towards life. especially the slogan, "Bring out your lines, bring out your charm, and bring out your own secret scenery." It simply speaks to the heart of a woman. No, boss, I want it so much now. At the end of the story, Miranda actually reached such a climax that she took the initiative to ask for sex, which really surprised Shakru. People say that power is the best aphrodisiac for men, so now it seems that these luxury brands are the best aphrodisiacs for women. Anyway, at the end of the battle, Shakru felt that he was no longer a match for Miranda, who had added Victoria's Secret point. Although Shaka reluctantly did the cover of this issue, he accepted it for the sake of helping Miranda. However, what he didn't expect was that the cover storm had not completely passed. Just after the Victoria's Secret fashion show, Shaka unexpectedly received a call from an old friend he hadn't seen for a long time. This old friend was none other than Australian playboy Travis Beanon. Shaka was still very surprised by his call, so he picked up the phone and asked, "Brother Beanon, why did you suddenly think of calling me?" Originally, Shaka thought that Beanon was going to India to play, or to open a large one, so he asked him, but this time Beanon asked a question that was beyond his expectation. "Shaka, I just saw that you were on the cover. So I want to ask, is this cover easy to be on? How much does it cost?" "How much does it cost? I didn't spend any money. I know the editor-in-chief, Sir Winter, and she invited me to shoot the cover." Shaka answered in confusion. Hearing what Shakru said, Beanon became even more excited and asked excitedly, "So you know the editor-in-chief? That's great. Then can you help me ask if I can be on the cover?" To be continued. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.